Trustee meeting. Give me a second while I read that correctly. The Elk Creek Fire Protection District Pension Board of Trustees regular meeting. And welcome everybody. So as a call to order, for those that are new, I see some new faces. We always start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And if I would, Director Newby, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. All right. Roll call of board members and trustees. There's no need. I see everyone here, including our two trustees. And I would ask that my fellow board members and trustees look at the agenda and please make any note of any additions or corrections that we might want to make as we move through the meeting. Cool, Kev? All right. And the agenda will be approved as presented. Please review and look at the 2023 meeting minutes from July and see if there's any additions, deletions, or corrections that are necessary there. Additions, deletions, corrections for the July pension board meeting of trustees.
Yes, I actually would like a point of clarification. It is my understanding that Lieutenant Devaney and Colt, I apologize, are you a lieutenant as well?
Yeah.
Lieutenant Thiel are trustees, not directors.
That's correct. They
I
are trustees.
questioned that.
Okay. I think it's important for clarification when we're especially given Director Devaney and Trustee Devaney that I don't get confused.
That's why I put the first names.
Thanks. So if we could just going forward, make sure they are identified as trustees.
Any other additions or deletions or corrections? Last time, additions, deletions, corrections to the July 2023 pension board trustee meeting. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve those meeting minutes with the corrections made.
Motion to approve the minutes with
Director
corrections made.
Second motion.
Director Woods, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And everyone voted in affirmative, so there's no need to call for abstentions or against. All right, that motion carries. Our next order of business is the next order of business is old business, and that is the Pension Board Bylaws Update Subcommittee Report. And Director Newby, you had sent some information out. Would you like to start the presentation?
Yeah, just to get everybody caught up at our last meeting, and even at our meeting prior to that, there was some public discussion about bylaws clarification, the fact that they had not been updated for quite some time.
2018?
2012, I think, was the last adoption date, I think.
Yeah,
Colt.
2012.
So there was some discussion about needing to bring the bylaws up to date, and there was also some confusion about elections and so forth and so on. And at our July meeting, we put together a subcommittee, Lieutenant Thiel, Lieutenant Devaney, and myself, to just look into and take recommendations for bylaws updates.
That's correct.
So as the chairperson of that committee, I reached out to the two lieutenants.
Why are you chairperson?
And to say again?
Why are you the chairperson?
I think in terms of a director position, the Director Newby is the chair, but you all represent that. He's just
Yeah.
speaking and but it is a point that I provided him.
Okay,
So-
that's the first time I heard that.
As a point of privilege as the president, I asked Chuck to preside over this subcommittee. And might have to double check the minutes, but I'm pretty sure I asked him to chair that position. Any clarification on that? No? Anybody else? For the
Yeah.
point of information right now, if you would just go ahead and finish your update.
Yeah, sure, of course, yeah. Rather than meeting in person, just for everybody's benefit, the process we used was basically to just reach out. I solicited input from each of the lieutenants and then from other recipients, pension recipients. And then I collated and circulated those inputs that I received to the two lieutenants, and also to our legal counsel. I solicited his input as well. So then I produced basically this document that I circulated to all the trustees for the review and any discussion tonight that we want to have. I did not circulate, I did circulate the attorney-client privileged communication from Mr. Camille also to the trustees. So everybody has all of the information that we gathered. And fundamentally, I think most of the inputs that we received were on the answering some of the communication needs of being in more frequent communication with pension recipients and those who would benefit from the pension when they have proper years put in and so forth and would qualify. So that was quite a few comments there, and so I captured those comments. Also, the conduct of the updates in terms of the basically the rules of the road for conduct of meetings, notice of meetings, just sort of all standard stuff. People felt that there was a lack of clarity there, so we can do better in that area. Also, clarity, we need clarification on the language for specifying when elections take place, responsibilities of trustees, and so forth. And then Mr. Camille had a number of very technical and legal compliance issues that would bring the 2012 bylaws, into 2023. So I think we welcomed all of those. So any questions on any of that?
Appreciate your effort. I don't have any questions. I think that you guys are doing a great job. I appreciate our counsel, Mr. Mill, in putting that forward.
Yeah.
I unfortunately have not had a chance to dissect it, and I would like to have that opportunity. And I believe, I don't know about my fellow board members, but I know we just recently received it. I think there's an opportunity for us to take that as a basis and to build on it. I'm willing to entertain any other discussions on behalf of that, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, and I know there was discussion that was brought out of not only the floor, but in terms of what the trustees were looking for, and I appreciate you putting that out.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you'd like to add on that?
Just give the lieutenants a chance to speak
So
up.
I kind of took those recommendations from everybody that he'd sent out, and I started typing out an actual Word document for the bylaws that we can have versus the PDF scheme that we all received. So hopefully, we can get all that put together from there, and then we'll have an actual document that we can go and edit in the future if we need to. So
I'm hoping that we might have that available at the beginning of 2024. We might have that presented by the trustees and Director Newby to be after we make any additions to that, that might be able to be presented. But of course, we'll rely on any other changes that might be made, and then we can move forward from there.
Yeah, I would like to see a red line. I would like to see the red line document so that we know what it was and what it's been changed to, just so everybody is.
Yeah, I'll make sure
It's
those
clear.
get.
Okay. John, did you want to mention anything about that in the process?
No, overall, it was, my comments were kind of just like the legal updates that have taken place and kind of some clarifying points there. One of the pieces I think that was important was, and actually, interestingly enough, a few of my kind of legal comments coincided with some of the feedback from the volunteer side. So things like notice, it was just kind of outdated. It was still using the old, like posting in 3 places, and as opposed to the modern approach of being able to post on the website. So kind of clarifying things like that to just, modernize the approach and make it easier and more consistent with, what the district board does as well.
Perfect.
As a note on that, Mr. Camille, can you, on item 7 in your letter, it refers to that Article 21 amendment and timing and posting. I'm seeing in here that it says at least 10 days prior to requirement. Is that subject to the same modifications that the state made for special districts? Can we shorten that
Yeah, so
to the more timely 24-hour notice?
So that was one that I just commented on to highlight more as kind of a decision point. That amendment process, it requires, and the way I read it, 10 days before the first meeting to kind of be presented. And then at the next meeting is when you can adopt them. So you can, it's a fairly, lengthy process then if you're having quarterly meetings. So I just highlighted that both from the 10-day standpoint and just kind of the meeting process in and of itself. If you all wanted to revisit that as far as just being able to more efficiently amend the document in the future, that part right there could be subject to change. It's more of a policy determination, and is ultimately, as long as you comply with the statutory notice requirements, which now are just the open meeting law 24 hours in advance on the agenda, that would be the one you'd have to certainly comply with. But I think that again was kind of I think even the amendments for the meeting that you would adopt them, it requires posting in multiple places in the district, things like that. So really kind of, again, a question of modernizing and making sure there's clear communication, just people know the expectation, but also potentially allowing for more efficient, changes in the future.
Absolutely. So as it stands now, if I'm understanding...
Recording in progress.
If I'm understanding you correctly, as it stands now, to make any modifications or changes to our bylaws, we have to have an initial meeting, which isn't this because we didn't get it 10 days prior. We have to have all of this, the red line document that you guys want approved 10 days prior to our meeting, and then it can't be approved until the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, so can we have a special pension board meeting in December with the red line document being provided 10 days prior so that we can officially vote on it in January?
Yeah, I think as I recall, it doesn't specify regular meeting. It just says 10 days prior to a meeting and then the next meeting.
And that's how I interpret it on the other side, but on
the district
side.
So I think that that would be sufficient for a special meeting. Again, it'd be just complying with that notice component and walking through that process.
So I would ask that the subcommittee decide if that's what you want to do, because I don't think that you guys or us or anybody wants to take this any further than we have to, and wants to get the bylaws aligned for the 2024 calendar year, correct?
That would be
my position, at least.
Yours as well, gentlemen?
Yeah, I think I can work on that document and get it out.
Okay, so
Definitely before.
given that we're all, do you think that you can get that done?
Yeah.
January.
Well, by December.
Yeah, I should be able to get it done by hopefully the end of this month even.
Okay, so with that in mind, the December meeting is slated for the 14th. Could we,
That is an agenda.
We don't have a pension.
well, we would have to
Hopefully a special
have,
meeting.
we would have to schedule a special meeting of the pension board, and that document would have to be posted in its required locations, which I am assuming is here, probably Station 4 and Station 2.
I think it's clarified in the bylaws in the separate,
Yeah,
in the meeting notice provision where the 3 places are.
yeah,
But that one is actually, that's for the next meeting. So the first meeting is just 10 days in advance to the pension board, because that's kind of just the notice to you all, and then the discussion at the first meeting, and then the posting is prior to the second meeting.
okay, so,
To approve the changes.
Yeah.
so we would want a meeting, a special meeting of the pension board on December 14th. Is that amenable?
Yes.
Yeah, we could put it in front of this
Yeah,
board
just like,
meeting. Yeah, like we're doing.
but it would be a special meeting, so we would have to post notice on it. And then we would need that document by the 4th, correct, John?
Sounds great.
Okay. And then again, it would have to be posted prior to our January meeting on the 11th,
Correct.
correct, John?
Yes.
How far in advance on the
I believe
January
that's
11th?
also 10 days.
So that would have to be posted by the 1st.
Happy New Year.
In the 3 required locations, which I'm pretty sure, I know here is one, Station 4 is one, and I'm pretty sure it's Station 2.
Okay.
Is that, any objections?
I think it's a sound, we've been working, you guys have been working on this diligently. I think once we have an opportunity to make some final additions, corrections, to make sure that they meet all pension board, FPPA, and legal constraints, that we can have that, hopefully have that ready. That gives us over a month.
Yeah.
Is that minimal? Okay.
You guys have any
No.
concerns?
That's fine. Jay, can you ensure through Barbara that a special meeting notice is posted
Can do.
for the pension board
Yep.
for the December meeting? And if you could make a calendar note that we will need somebody to post that in the actual physical locations, which is different from our normal
Yeah.
process.
Awesome, all right. Any other discussion about the pension board bylaws update? Subcommittee gentlemen, thank you guys so much. I appreciate that, and I'm excited that we're moving forward with that. The next item of business is new business, and I should have mentioned this before, but I believe we have this out of order. I would, if it's amenable to my fellow board members, I would like to ask Ms. Pam Healy to speak before we have our second quarter 2023 allocation report. I believe that the information that she will be able to provide would add context to what we're going to see as we go through the allocation report. Is there any issue with us switching that?
I think that's, I was actually going to ask that.
All right.
I want to hear what she says first.
Yeah. I would like to introduce Ms. Pam Feely. Pam Feely is an expert in her field, a resident expert. A little bit about Ms. Feely. She's a CPA, she has an MBA, she's the owner of Feely Consulting. She served on West Metro's 2026 Blue Ribbon Task Force, exploring whether West Metro should ask voters to pass a bond and a mill levy increase. She was appointed in June of 2009 to fill a vacancy and stayed in that position for 11 years, 8 of which were president. She was appointed by Governor Hickenlooper to serve on the PPA or FPPA board and has served 8 years. And she has authored a book. This woman is the real deal, and I'm very excited. I have been teasing this board about her presence, and it's so nice to have you here, Ms. Feely. Would you like to add anything to your introduction?
Well, a little bit. I have 3 great uncles that served on Denver Fire back in the 1920s through the 1940s. Unfortunately, one did die in the line of duty. So I finally figured out that my passion for fire service comes from that legacy. So, and I currently serve on the Colorado Fire Commission representing special districts on the eastern slope. So that's been very eye-opening and took me out of the world of special districts. And it's a bigger world.
Well, Ms. Feely, we greatly appreciate you being here. The continuation and longevity of our volunteer pension is important to every board member that sits up here. We've discussed it. And your information will add great clarity into our evaluation of individuals. Thank you.
Okay, so I appreciate the opportunity to educate and bring clarity to you. So we can go ahead, we can move the PowerPoint forward. So we're going to talk about the actuarial report and its definition and what it covers. We're going to talk about people. We're going to talk about time, how long the plan is going to be in existence. While I can't give you a definitive date when it will close, it's decades from now, and what the funding sources are. So we can move on to the next one. So an actuarial report is done by professionals who study longevity, mortality tables. They use demographic information of the people in your specific plan. They look at what's gone on. In an example, right now, our life expectancy in the US has been cut by 2 years, in part because of COVID and also the opioid crisis. So that means people aren't living as long. They look at the investment returns that the plan has gathered from the past and what they project it to be. And then it's time, how long do you have to have, and what are the sources of funding. And in your case, the sources of funding come from your district, they come from the state, and they come from investment returns. So now, we'll talk about the next one. So the defined benefit pension plan is a promise to provide a benefit in the future to the covered individual. So the actuarial predicts a benefit and estimates how much money you'll need to provide that benefit. And they figure out what the normal cost is. And in a volunteer world, you have a set of benefit at $220 a month for a person who's been here for 20 years, or 10 years. $440 a month for a person who's been here for 20 years. So they figure that out. Then they look at, is the plan unfunded? Does it have, is the district going to be liable for more money in the future? And they figure out what the district needs to make in terms of its contribution on an annual basis. It's not recommended to take holidays. Plans who take holidays end up in trouble. So then who are you going to pay? You're going to pay retirees, and you're going to pay people who have a terminated vested benefit but are not yet drawing it. And so those would be somebody who volunteered for 10 years and is 40 years old and isn't 50 yet and can't receive the benefit. So that's what that category is. You still owe them that money. You still owe them that benefit. They're just kind of in a limbo stage because they don't qualify based on age.
Can I ask a question right now?
Sure.
So if somebody has been here for 10 years, but they're only 40, and they can start drawing when they're 50, do they get a different amount because of that 10-year gap between when they serve to when they can draw?
No,
Okay.
they calculate what the benefit would, how much money would have to be set aside, and then add the earnings to it so that at age 50 they could get the 220.
Okay.
So that's part of that calculation. So we can go to the next slide.
So Pam, I have
Sure.
a question for you. So our plan, or these plans, are a defined benefit plan. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So you have to have, a volunteer has to have a minimum time in service to qualify, and then there's a second age qualification
Yes.
as well, right?
Yes.
In that age qualification, so it's 10 years and age 50
For a half a benefit.
so that is half the benefit. And
Full
that's
benefit is earned at 20 years.
Okay, so the 10-year benefit is 220, and that does not change, that's
That's the,
the
right
meaning
now,
of
that
a
is the
defined
benefit.
benefit, right?
That is the benefit for as long as the plan exists, unless the board chooses to increase the benefit. But we can talk about that a little later.
Yes, please. but just so I understand, so the fire district contributes dollars to, enough dollars on a quarterly or annual basis to allow that defined benefit payout to be paid for all of the qualifying population? Is that how that works?
Yes, for their life expectancy.
So as more people, yeah, right, for the life, exactly, actuarially.
Right.
So as more people come into the plan, then the district puts in more money, sets aside more money into the plan. Go ahead.
That's, your plan is closed to new members. Your
Okay.
plan closed to new members in 2018.
And-
The volunteer plan has.
Yeah, okay, but what?
So,
Okay.
I don't know what that decision was made or why that decision was made. That's before my time. But right now,
Gotcha.
new volunteers are not in this plan.
I see, okay.
So
Gotcha.
so it's actually kind of a little bit different. You're not going to, because you don't have new members coming in, that amount won't necessarily grow as to what you put in,
So you have
unless there's a
people,
deficit.
you have people aging out, I don't want to say dying, but
Well, in
Aging
this
out.
world,
Aging
dying is the right word.
right.
And when they die, it's a benefit to the plan.
Okay, right.
Well, it's a positive.
Okay.
From a financial,
From a financial perspective, and it's no disrespect,
it
Matt.
is what it is.
It is what it is. It means that there's one less person that's getting a benefit, so the plan doesn't have to continue to cover that person anymore, or that widow.
So the obligation for the district to input money would, in that case, decrease by some small amount, presumably.
Right.
Okay. Just trying to understand.
No, and that's why I'm here,
Right.
is for you to understand.
Okay, thank you.
Pam, one clarification, the state also contributes.
I did, yes, and the
You
state,
mentioned that
I did
earlier,
mention
but not just, it's
Right.
not just the district.
it is the state as well. There are state matching funds, and unfortunately, I don't know all the rules on that. I did not get that clarified today, but I will get that back to you. But you'll see that I put that number in my presentation later. So, okay.
Thank you.
So then we're to the, so now then, the purpose is to predict the benefits which you've set. The pension plan and their trustees have set what the benefit is and what the requirements are. They set assumptions, and then the actuarially determined contribution is what you have to make. And you're going to check that normal cost, unfunded. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So who is currently in your plan receiving a benefit? As of January 1st, 2023, there are people who are 80 and over. There are 10 members or retirees and 2 widows. So there's 12 people in that bracket. The 70 to 79, there's 21 members, 4 widows for a total of 25. The 60 to 69, there's 16 retirees, 1 widow, and then on the 50 to 59, there are 4, for a total of 58 people currently drawing a benefit every month. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So you have 3 members who have earned benefits who are not receiving it because they're not the quite right age, or maybe they've decided to delay their retirement. But so they're not at least 50 probably. And then there's 1 member who is not with you anymore, but is participating in another district's plan. So we can go to the next slide. And then this one, you have 4 active members. One is 30 to 39, one is 40 to 49. One has 5 years, with 0 to 4 years of service. One has 5 years of service, or up to 9. And then one that's 50 to 59 has more than 10 years worth of service. That member has a benefit coming, they're just not retired. 2 years ago, you had 16 people in that category. So you've lost 12. Which is a good thing for the plan.
Can you go back? My math isn't mathing.
What? Oh, the total, it didn't total, it should have been 4. I'm sorry.
Okay, cool. I was just checking.
We knew what you meant.
I just got too much math going on, all right. All right, good catch. So, as a way to get a handle on how long the plan's gonna be around, I use the age of 95 for the member, just because it's kind of something I can grasp my hand on. I can go look at a calendar and say how far that out is.
Yeah.
So if the person is 80 years old and 23, and they live to be 95, they will pass away sometime in 2038, or their widow. 75, I used 75, I took those 10-year brackets and made it in the middle. So 2043, so that's 20 years from now. We have 2053, 63, 73, and 83. So this plan's going to be around for a very long time. Okay. Move on. So I did a graph. So this shows you by year when they'll be getting benefits. So way out there, 2061. So go on to the next one. Slide, the next slide. And this is by age. You can see. So I just took that table and made it into a graph. So then let's go on to the next one. So then, what's your responsibility as a trustee? By law, fiduciaries are to place the needs of the beneficiaries ahead of their own interests. So you're looking out to be sure that the plan is going to be there in 2075 to provide that benefit. That's what your job is. So,
Pam, question for you.
sure.
So, for the firefighter who is qualified in the plan and receive benefit, have started receiving benefits but passes away, does all of that benefit go to the widow at that
No.
point, or is that, okay,
The widow has a different benefit,
okay,
and that's coming up.
okay, good, thank you.
So you should have a written policy that if you're going to to notify FPPA of any changes, which I do believe you have in place. So when someone comes on and is ready to retire, FPPA is notified and they get the process going and they get the bank information and do whatever. Or the death of a member or spouse, the FPPA needs to know to stop that. They actually do have a process in place where they do check Social Security numbers on a fairly regular basis to be sure that something hasn't happened, that somebody didn't get missed. So, the next one. So if you're going to increase a benefit, it is in your interest to require an actuarial study. FPPA probably would require it, but it is also in your interest to be sure that you're going to be able to meet the new obligation for the length of the plan. And I understand several years ago you raised the benefit from $400 to $440, so that was a 10% increase, and you were required to get an actuarial. It can be done at the time, every 2 years, that FPPA does the actuarial, or you can go and have it done off-cycle. And FPPA has, Gabriel Rudder-Smith is the actuary FPPA uses. They have all your information. It's, it's the matter that they can probably handle.
Do you know the cost on it?
It's around $2,000, I believe Chip told me. Chip Wheel is the benefits manager that I work with at FPPA. So the current benefits, the retiree at 10 years gets $220, 20 years $440, and at 30 years $660. So his widow gets half. And so this is just a table of if you invest money over time at different interest rates, what you would get. So we can go to the next one. Again, this is just based on years, how long it's around, and where that money would go. And then the next one. So for FPPA, while I served on the board, one of the issues that we came up with is we have some old hire plans and some volunteer plans that people are getting to that point where the plans are getting close to being done and closing out. So we realized having those funds in a plan in a 7% interest rate or 7.25% interest rate was not being fiduciarily responsible to the plan members. So FPPA started doing 3 different investment pools. The long-term pool, it's designed for primarily open plans with a longer time horizon. And right now, FPPA's investment return rate is 7%. The next one is the glide path pool. That's where they're going to take you from being a long-term plan to maybe you're going to be getting done in about 15 years. So we're going to glide path you into, getting out of some of the more investments that are a little more risky based on what goes on in the market in a day-to-day basis, and become more conservative and put some in more bonds and things like that, and make sure we have enough cash to meet your benefits. And then the third plan is the short-term pool, and that's where it's primarily had no tolerance for risk, and the smallest tolerance for risk, and you need cash. So FPPA has done that now with all of the plans that they manage. You're in the long-term plan because we're going to be out here till 2070, 2080. I can't guess how long.
So, for example, a glide path pool might be appropriate for a time horizon for how long? 30 years rather than 50 years?
No, it's closer
40
to
years?
10. It's closer to 15, 10.
Okay.
West Metro has, actually at West Metro, we had 2 old hire plans and 1 volunteer plan. They now have they now have 2 volunteer plans with the merger with Wheat Ridge. Our old hire plans, one of our old hire plans is in the short-term pool. They're probably less than 10 years out. My guess is they might be 5 years out, depending upon who's still left, because they lost a lot of people in the last 2 years.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So then I think the next one, yeah. So for you, I took what FPPA said, or Gabriel Rogers-Smith said was your contribution. And these are all the factors that they took into account. So it's the projected current cost of all future benefits for everyone that's to receive a benefit for their lifetime. So they take the actuarial value of the assets and they subtract the accrued liability, and the result is known as the unfunded actuarial accrued liability. You don't have that. You're in the other direction. So that a funded ratio is computed. So generally, contributions are calculated to be completed over 20 years. So when you see an annual amount, that's what they figured it on. So then the next screen. So for you, as of 1/1/2023, your total actuarial accrued liability is $1,876,714. That's for retirees and beneficiaries. Those inactive members, those ones that are going to get a benefit but are not yet receiving it, their benefit's $102,618. And then the active member, they've projected to be $72,767, giving you a total liability of $2,052,099. And then they've looked at what you have in assets. And you have $2,969,832, giving you an unfunded actuarial liability of, does that say, $817,733. So you're 145% surplus.
Right.
And the reason that went up so much this year was, I talked about those 12 that you lost. That active number used to be higher, a lot higher. So it added quite a bit when you lost the 12 members.
So how did we lose those members?
I don't know the answer to that. They must have, maybe they went to another department, maybe they decided they didn't want to be a firefighter.
this district before,
Oh, just out of the,
They're not firefighters with Oak Creek.
okay, gotcha,
yeah, they left the district before they hit their 10-year mark with us.
gotcha, okay.
Right, big, yeah. And I'm seeing that across the state. Their volunteer firefighters are coming to get their training. And once they get some of their training in, they're going and they're applying with paid departments across the state. That's what we're seeing.
So they don't stay where they started.
They do not stay where they start. They also may be moving out of some of these areas and moving closer to metropolitan areas across the state. Grand Junction, Pueblo, Pooter. It's not just the Front Range. But I know that Elizabeth they've kind of gotten to the point where they realize that they're probably just a training department. Okay. So you're at 145. So then the next slide. So you don't have an unfunded actuarial liability, but they still do put the schedule in there anyway. So you're positive. No, it is 917,733. I must type that. So if you take that and divide it, it's 69,000 a year that you don't have to put in. But because you choose to, which is fine, which is great, you've got an annual contribution of at this point 15,000, and the state match is 11,240, and we want to keep the state match. So you always have to put something in to get the match. You don't put something in, you don't get the match, and then you can't go back and get it later. So it's assumed that you're going to be putting in about, combined between your district and the state, $26,240.
Now, are there caps on the state match?
Yes, there
I would
is.
assume there is. but-
There is. It's based on a benefit of $300 a month.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, and then the last page. So you have 6% of your participants are not vested as of 1/1/2023. 4 out of 66 people.
So based off of all of this, it would behoove us to run an actuarial.
If you choose to raise benefits, then you will have to run an actuarial.
But because we just received our actuarial, we'll have to do an off-cycle if we're going to do
Correct.
anything in the short term.
So do they run the actuarial based off of what we want to change the benefit to?
Yes, you're
Okay.
going to tell them, we want to increase the benefit by 5% or 10% or double it or whatever the number is.
Mhm. Okay.
I think usually they'll do like 2 or 3.
They'll do 2 or
right?
3,
Yeah,
right?
you can give
Give
them
us a range
like,
of
yeah, 5, 10, 15%.
15%.
And then all of this will get reported in the actuarial. So here's your current, benefit funding.
Exactly.
And then, so then you can have like options A, B, and C basically out of the actuarial.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
awesome.
Here's the actuarial.
I've seen them on.
It's
I like-
21 pages long.
I like that actuarial better than one's.
Yeah.
I work for a different district. I like your actuarial better than mine.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so are there any questions? Yes?
All this data you provided came from the actuarial study?
I'm sorry?
All the data that's on, I can't
Yes,
really
it
see
comes
that.
from this actuarial
And
report.
where is that located?
You can get it from Barbara, I believe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I believe we have it.
Yeah, I got it.
I've asked for financial statements for years and I've never got them.
Okay.
So I'd like
This is not a financial.
an actuary, it's financial.
It's an actuarial report. It is available from your district.
Okay, I'd like one.
Okay.
Or just be available to all the, I think it should be
Would there be
available to
any-
all the.
Would there be any issue with posting it on the website?
Yeah, electronic would be easier. I don't want to have to print.
That's how I received it, was electronically.
Yeah,
And it's not,
If we could just post, there's no issue with posting it on the website?
No.
It seems
We'll
like
just do
it's
that.
public.
Get it up there.
There is no
perfect.
name, there is
Done.
no individual name listed in this actuarial report.
Perfect,
So you are not giving away any information.
perfect. We'll just put it on the website then.
I think that,
Thank you.
yeah, that's fine.
Any other
So all that
questions
data
for Ms.
that we
Fielder?
saw here that I didn't see here, obviously, because I
I'm
can't
sorry,
see-
what?
All the data that was on your screens that I can't actually see from there is in the actuary or?
Every bit of that number is in here.
Okay, all right. So I look at our, the only data I have that comes from the audits, the yearly audit for the fire district, and it audits the plan as well. It audits the,
The audit for your plan,
We have a
for
point of order.
this plan,
We have a point of order. Is this appropriate?
I think in light of it being an informational session, that there shouldn't be any issue if somebody
It's a
wants to
pension
ask
board
questions.
meeting, I get to talk to my pension board.
By all means.
So the only financial information I get is from the actual audits, from the fire district audit, and it has a lot of these numbers. But one thing it says in the audit, every year, it says that the benefit provided is retirement benefits for members $440 a month for 20 or more years of service. And your slide said we have a 30-year.
you have a member getting, there is a,
Did you say the state doesn't match that? We have to come up with a difference?
You have one?
I think we have.
You have one member?
Yeah, we have one member who did 30 years.
that's what I was told.
So
It says that there is on the extended service, amount per year of service, 5% of regular for 10 additional years.
Okay, so 5% of 440 is.
Yeah, that's listed on the $22 a month, 5% of regular for 10 additional years.
And that, I don't know where that is. That's in the actuary?
Maybe it would be more appropriate if you and I had a conversation offline, or, I could go somewhere else.
Yeah, that'd be fine. No, that's no problem. And if I can read, is that in the actuarial study or?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all
It's
right.
on table 2.
Okay, no, that's all I need. I just need to find that information.
Yes.
Pam, would you be willing to make your presentation available to the board members or
Absolutely.
the public, or
I would like
Absolutely.
it posted to the website
could we post
as
it?
well.
As long as you're good with that.
I'm fine.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. I couldn't see it very well from this end.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Feely? Well, Ms. Feely, you can help us interpret the next item of business. That's the second quarter 2023 allocation report. Again, this being your bailiwick, this will help us out because we have a general understanding, and from everything that you indicated, we are in a good position. And as we move forward, there will be the opportunity to look at investment or increasing our benefit to our wonderful volunteers. But looking at our allocation report, do you see anything that we need to be concerned with? I'm going to assume no after your presentation, but could you just walk us across that top line as of 6/30/2023 and just help us digest what that exactly means? The year.
So you're in the long-term pool that we already talked about. So for the quarter that ended June 30th, the plan earned 2.73%. Year-to-date through June, it's 6.78%. For the 1-year mark at June 30th, it's 8.92%. For 3 years, it's 9.47%. And for 5 years, it's 7.31%.
That investment expense kind of.
Net of
counters,
investment
yeah.
expense. So, for example, the FBPA invests in some limited partnerships, let's say, or a hedge fund. And they've actually been able to get some pretty good deals. Normally it's 2% and then it's 2% and 20. Well, at FBPA, because it's kind of it's in between sizes, it's not super gigantic and it's not super small. they've been able to negotiate some deals where they get a 1.5% fee, and so that's versus the 2% fee. And so that's part of what goes in there. The commissions on stocks that are sold, if they sell any stocks, those would be investment expenses. Those are the things that are there.
Okay. When would we be concerned? It sounds like we're doing everything fiduciary, maintaining our
If you had an
responsibility.
extremely long time of negative numbers in those quarterly annual reports, but you're,
If we don't contribute and the market tanks,
Yes.
right.
we
But
get
you're
ourselves
right.
pinched.
And I'm going to tell you, if that happens, FPPA is going to be working.
Yeah.
They've tried to structure the investments in such a way to counter some of the downside. Sometimes I would sit there and I'm like, oh, my poor head. So,
All right, any other questions for Ms. Feely regarding the second quarter 2023 allocation report?
and my contact information is available.
And Mr. Bartlett and you can meet as we break and go into our next session. Any other business to be brought before the,
Two things. I have a question on the actual association account. Other expenses. What are those? I understand everything else.
Where you are,
Allocated income and expense, I'm on the second to last page.
okay.
Beginning balance 2.8, ending balance 2.9, and then you have the allocated income and expense. I understand everything all the way down to other expenses. What are those?
I don't know.
I would like to,
I will look into that and I'll find that out.
if we could have a,
I will get it.
Is that an FPPA?
yeah, that's what I would just like clarification on what
Well, I reject it, no. But,
those other expenses are, whether it's
Yeah.
internal here
Oh,
or
I see what you're
with the
saying.
FPPA.
Okay, yeah, because this looks like it's. but I'll
This
let
looks
Ms.
like
Feely-
our stuff,
That was mine.
but this is, yeah.
I think we addressed that in a previous meeting because I know Sharon asked the same question. I did send out an email from FPPA, so I can forward that to you if you would like.
That would be awesome.
Okay.
And from your recollection, that is FPPA expense?
It's
Okay,
FPPA
all right.
expense.
Yeah, it does appear to be
Yeah.
board.
Yeah, if you could, please, just so, and perhaps, so do you create this report, Barbara?
It's from FPPA.
Do we have the ability to modify the report once received?
Why would we want to modify a report?
Well, just so that
To clarify that.
in 6 months, when I forget this conversation again, that under other expenses, it can be bracketed, parenthesized, FPPA,
Why don't you add another sheet of paper that explains that that's what it
Yeah, there you
is?
go.
or that, just so if we have a new pension member who's here and is like, what are these other expenses? And they don't feel comfortable asking, or very likely my menopausal Swiss cheese brain forgets and says, Barb, what the heck are we doing with this? Over information is my preference.
All
And
right,
then,
point taken. Any other business to be brought before the trustees?
yes. I would like to make a motion that we engage in an actuarial report addressing a 5, 10, and 15% increase to the pension based off of the current numbers we are seeing at the 145%.
And repeat those breakdowns?
5, 10, and 15%.
So you're
Might
talking
I,
about increases of 5, 10, or 15%?
Correct.
To the benefit?
To the benefit,
Okay.
yes.
Just wanted to clarify that.
And off-cycle.
For the purpose of,
Identifying if it is financially responsible and feasible to provide an increase of benefit to our pension holders.
All right, let's hold off on just a second. You don't hold off, you keep writing.
Keep scribbling, Melissa, keep scribbling.
I want to respect,
Keep going, you got it, I can
Okay.
multitask.
She can also email me like, what did you say?
all right. So we have a motion by Director Devaney, and I will have our secretary read it, if you don't mind.
Good lord.
That's,
Motion to engage an actuarial report to look at 5, 10, and 15% increase in the current pension. General?
should we clarify that?
Benefits, thank you,
Benefit.
thank you.
Benefit.
It's close.
An off-cycle actuarial report
And,
at the
off-cycle.
estimated cost of $2,000, is that what,
That's,
give or take?
Give or
Not to exceed 3,000?
Yeah, I'd say
That'd be-
that's just,
At a cost not to exceed 3,000 to determine if an increase of 5, 10, or 15% is
Feasible.
feasible
To the pension benefit
to the pension benefit.
is feasible.
Yeah.
all right. So I am going to rely on our secretary to put that together and to recite it back to the board before we get a second.
Lord.
I know, I'm sorry, but
That's
I
okay.
think it's important.
Except that I just have to figure out where my arrows are going. Just watching the video always helps. All right. To engage in an actual report in an off-cycle cost of $2,000 not to exceed $3,000 to determine if a 5, 10, or 15% increase is feasible to the pension benefit. Close?
Is that acceptable?
Am I close?
That is close. That
Or-
is,
Is there a second on? Second by Director
Absolutely
Woods.
second.
And we have a second, maker of the motion. You don't need to really declare anything to speak on behalf of the motion, but you're more welcome if you want to clarify. I think we all know the intent.
yeah, I think based off of the numbers that we are seeing and Pam's explanation and some indications from other pension members that it is our duty and responsibility to see if this is even something that is attainable. And for $2,000, $3,000, I think that it is upon us to do so.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Would you like to speak any further, Director?
I agree with the motion.
Wholeheartedly behind this.
All right. Since there's no other discussion, we'll just call
I
it a
actually
question.
have a discussion.
Unless you...
Question. Pam, is this, the next report, is that going to come out January 1st?
I'm not exactly sure.
Because
What date
I
we're gonna
thought they were... Was that
Oh, this is
January
23, I'm sorry. So it's a
our
whole-
next.
Your next one's January 25,
I got you.
So we'll have to do one in January 2024, or around.
whatever date they tell you.
Because normally when it came out, we spoke in August and we hadn't seen it. So is that normal?
Well, okay, you have to understand, FPPA has 270-some plans that they manage. So they cycle the actuarials. They do alt hires in even years and volunteers in odd years.
I got you.
And it just takes that long to do them, because they have to go through and make sure, because they don't want a mistake. I caught a mistake one year. They had egg on their face. They don't want that. So to double check it, because as you can see, there's lots of numbers flying around.
Okay, on the motion. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, do you want to reread it? If you would. Just for parliamentarily correction.
All right, to engage in an actuarial report in an off-cycle year of a cost of $2,000 not to exceed $3,000 to determine if a percentage increase of 5 to 10, 15% is feasible to the pension benefit.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Abstentions? All right, that motion carries. Any other new business? Hearing none, I will accept the motion to adjourn the Elk Creek Fire District Pension Board of Trustees regular meeting.
So moved.
All right, second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you all very much. Gentlemen, thank you for your effort. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Pam.
Yes.
6, we're going to call to
It's
order
elected.
the Elk Creek Fire Protection District.
All right, yeah, that would be,
Chief, are we still recording? Yeah, we are, okay, perfect. All right. Call to order at 7:06, so we have all of our board members here, so there's no need to have a roll call. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Under old business, an update on the hired secretary.
Update
I'm
on.
hiring someone to do the minutes.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
update on,
can do.
That would be appreciated.
Administrative alternatives.
I thought we already hired that person.
I think she's just looking for
Just
an update,
Update.
Yes.
Oh, and
where we
Yes.
stand.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Okay, on new business, I have an email I wanted to address, received from a citizen, and a letter from a past president. Those will be added as 2 and 3. Any other additions?
So the email and then the.
Do you want,
Yeah, so we have an email from Miss Debbie Ford, and we have a letter from Greg Brandt.
do you want to put those under public comment rather than,
Now, I'll enter them in new business and just that we've all received them and that we are going to evaluate them.
okay?
Just impact discussion.
Oh, and where would you like that, Chief? You want that in new business as well?
Is that new business or old?
It would be old business.
Because we've discussed it several times, so I think old business is
Old
appropriate. Is that,
Yeah.
How do you want that phrased, Director Newby? So we can enter it into the...
Oh,
Update on
yeah, update on mitigation of impacts of development.
Okay, impact development update. Development impact update, how about that? Would that work? All right. All right. Hearing none, we'll accept that as the agenda. We're good to go, Ms. Secretary? All right, perfect. That takes us into the approval of the September 2023 regular meeting minutes. Have you all had a chance to look at those?
I'll make a motion to accept and approve the September 2023 regular meeting minutes.
I have a correction on page, under item number 10. I would like to strike the last sentence where it says public comment, new topics of discussion.
I'm not sure that we can, since we did have a citizen make those.
So Director Newby had brought this to my attention and I didn't have a chance to make the revision. Actually, it's written, I think it's written correctly. The only thing that should be changed based on verbatim what was in the OWL recording is the name of the organization, and maybe I'm misreading it, but it looks correct.
Well, the name of the organization referred to here, and I think this was a public comment via...
It was a public comment via Zoom that was on the OWL recording.
Via Zoom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you went back and reviewed,
Mm-hmm.
and this person said, the organization has styled itself as Save Elk Creek Fire,
Those were the exact words.
.fire.org. I don't think so. I don't recall that.
I said it.
I don't think you said it.
I did.
Well,
it's what's in
I would
the-
like, this is an epithet that has no place in our record.
How is that an epithet?
Please, real quick, Director Newby, if we place in the minutes that you held an objection to that portion, would that be sufficient?
No, because
Because we can't
because the
strike.
name of the organization that the comment refers to is not written down properly.
And
It needs to
again, I
be-
think it's
it
appropriate.
needs- No, it needs to be corrected to the proper
That's what I just said.
legal name.
As a point of information, or clarification, depends on how you want to look at it. You look at the Zoom recording, listen to the Zoom recording,
multiple times.
and you will put your name on that this is the way that it was recorded.
The exact name of the organization I would verify,
Okay.
only because I have listened to it, but I did not verify that specific piece of the information. The part that says the organization has styled itself generally as that is what I wrote, but I would double check it again.
You know what, and if you would be comfortable with this?
There's no organization. The organization referred to is either Save Elk Creek Fire, Issue Committee, or Save Elk Creek Fire LLC.
So I
They're-
understand, Director Newby, where you're coming from. I'm writing down the minutes of what was said.
But that's not what was said. How could that be what was said?
All right, so this is what we're going to do. We are going to table the motion to approve the minutes. We will bring them up next month after our secretary has double, triple, quadruple to check what the Zoom meeting says. And then if necessary, we will bring it and we'll play it so that our board will accept it. But there's no need to banter this back and forth. I think that this will be easily solved at our next meeting, so we are going to table approval of the September 2023 regular meeting minutes. All right, that takes us to our next issue, financial matters. And I'm going to preface this, our treasurer is in need of leaving here soon, so she's going to finish the meeting after her presentation on Zoom.
On Zoom? I'm
And,
already on Zoom?
She's already on Zoom, we heard that. And then, but I appreciate you staying, and without further ado, please.
I don't have any choice. This is my presentation.
I gave Pam's. So,
Okay, next slide's fine. This is October 12th. These are financials that report that was generated on October 1st through September 30th. So just keep that in mind. Because I just approved checks that are August.
Can you say that again?
Okay. I get a report the day after the end of the month. So in this case, I get a report on October 1st.
Okay.
Okay. For September information.
Yep.
From September 30th to October 12th, which is today,
Yep.
there are additional entries made, and those entries apply back to September. So
so this is a snapshot in time, is what
this
you're
is a
saying?
snapshot in time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've just had people take exception to adding up the individual months from the board packets and not coming to the same year-to-date number that I present.
That's fair.
Fair? All right, so revenue, overview of revenue. Basically, the forecast for revenue, $5,387,681. We are at $4,615,311 versus a forecast of $4,578,707. So we're pretty much right on forecast year-to-date for revenue. Do I hear like a woo?
Woo! Nice work.
Next slide.
Just crash. For the third time.
This is a nice slide.
I think that means that you did
Can I pass them around?
So what you're seeing here is,
So if this is it, so what you would see here is overview of year-to-date expenses. The forecast for the September year-to-date, 2023 total expense number is $4,040,818, adjusted for billing amounts to Inter Canyon versus year-to-date budget for the same period of $3,555,131. So we have some departments that are a little over budget, some departments are under budget. Some of the things that happen have to do with
Recording in progress.
This is the internet.
okay,
Makes sense. Internet crash.
so in this, we had year-to-date expenses, some departments under budget, some over budget. It includes capital expenditures for remodel at Station 4 of about $12,000. Next slide. Ready? Sorry.
She's teasing you, Ben.
I'm teasing. Year-to-date, I knew it. Ben's driving again. Nice. I like that slide. It's okay. We can just go through this, Ben. Don't worry about it. So if we're looking at year-to-date net income, the forecast for year-to-date net income is $7,271. Right now, net income is at 1,080,230. I can't even really read my slides. So net income is tracking pretty much the same as it did in 2022. Next slide is property tax revenue. That's our biggest revenue number. It's 67% of our overall revenue. Year-to-date property tax revenue for 2023 is forecasted to be $3,625,336. At this point, we are at $3,546,063 versus a forecast of $3,582,908. So property tax revenue is tracking exactly as it should. Okay, we
Any of
need
these
to
you
do
want to hit again?
expenses, because I can't, I'm gonna have to move over, because I can't.
There we go.
Nope.
No, he's gonna.
He's messing with me. Thanks, Mary. Okay, so this was overview of year-to-date expenses. I have to look back at my notes because I don't have them memorized. Expenses are forecasted to be this year. Total expenses for September 2023, year-to-date, $4,040,818. The budget for the same period is $3,555,131. So we're 75% through the year. There are a lot of departments that are under budget, some that are over budget. We'll discuss some of the key expense numbers in some later slides. Net income, next slide. We already looked at that one, didn't we? There we go, net income. Just keep clicking, there we go. Okay, so net income is...
Just testing.
Year-to-date net income for August of '22, you can see the number was $1,643,916. End of the year net income in 2022 was $1,417,781. The annual budget this year for net income is $7,271. We're right now at $1,060,181. So net income is tracking a little below 2022. However, it's tracking appropriately. Next slide. Okay, just click. There you go. Stop. Okay. So property tax revenue is our biggest revenue number. It is 67%, a little more than 67% of our overall revenue. Property tax revenue for 2023 is forecasted to be $3,625,336. That's the number you see on the right. Currently, property tax revenue is at $3,546,063 versus a forecast of $3,582,908. So we're very much right on forecast with property tax revenue. Next slide. Just one more. There you go, stop. Okay, so I put this slide up here because I want people to understand how difficult it can be to look at property tax on a monthly basis. You can see the spike early in the year when most people pay their property taxes, but then people do divide it in half and pay it later. So basically, property tax revenue on a monthly basis is tracking very much like 2022, and I think that is evidenced when you look at the year-to-date property tax number being what it is. So it's tracking, excuse me, exactly as we expected it to track. Next slide. So we're going to get into labor. One more quick thing. We're going to get into labor. Labor, like property tax, is our biggest expense. When you think about it, it makes sense that it's our biggest expense. So that property tax revenue is greater than 53% of our total expense billing amount. So this slide represents year-to-date labor, net of amounts that are billed to Inter Canyon for services that we provide to Inter Canyon. So year-to-date labor for September is $2,320,108. Budget for September was $2,196,914. This includes overtime pay in accordance with Fair Labor Standards Act. So there's a little bit of overtime in there that I guess I wasn't expecting when I did the forecast. Next slide. This is labor without SURF. SURF is the expense for sending our firefighters out of district to help other districts. We're going to actually look at SURF again on a later slide, but you can see again that that's some extra overtime in there. Next slide. This is SURF. SURF right now is under budget. So the good news is that there are less fires this year than there were last year. We'll go into that in a later slide. But you can see that our SURF expense is fairly far below budget. Next slide. Okay, this is the slide you need forklift spend. Please. If I were driving, I would do this. Just keep going. One more, two more. There you go. Okay, so this is the SURF reimbursement status, which I think is a very important slide. So at this point, we have submitted $916,941 to the state for reimbursement. At this point, we have been reimbursed, it's the bottom number, $156,230. So we are still due from the state $760,712. Total SURF expenses, which is labor, travel, miscellaneous, is at $414,684. So one of the interesting things I like to mention is 2 months ago we were at 25 days to get reimbursed. Last month we were at 26 days to get reimbursement. We're now at 32 days before we get reimbursement. So the state seems to get lagging a little bit, and it could be because the volume has increased. But right now, there really are not as many fires as I would have thought. Last year, we were at over $1 million of requests at this point last year. So right now, I have 16 total fires that were served. 1 in Alaska, 10 in Colorado, 1 in Montana, 1 in New Mexico, 1 in Oregon, and 2 in Washington. So the bulk this year has been Colorado. Last year, the bulk of SURF costs were Texas. We had over 50% of the SURF visits last month. Next slide. Expenses for the month of September as recorded on by September 30th, 2023 were $421,793. Next. I need a motion to approve the Sage ledger recorded expenses as of September 30th, 2023 for $421,793.
So moved.
Okay.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none?
Thank you, Sharon.
Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye. Run, Sharon, run. Thank you all for letting me leave early. I am leaving, so
Enjoy your evening.
thank you.
Okay, that moves us to Chief Ware's report.
Can I ask a question really quick? Jake, who creates this report?
That, I believe, comes out of Sage.
Is this,
Barbara creates it, she pulls it out of that based on.
okay, going forward, can we, I would like to see, pretty please, on this income statement, the variance report, the variance number. So we have the current month actual, year-to-date budget, but if you could please help my brain and just add a column that shows the variance from year-to-date to actual.
You're talking about budget versus actuals, is that what you're asking for?
I'm talking about on the income statement as part of the financial report. We have the actual month expenses, year-to-date expenses, and year-to-date budget. I'm asking if you can create a variance column so I can see how much, it's just, can you do the math for my brain?
Do you want a
Oh,
percentage
percent
or do you want it value?
I want a value, please. I want dollars. And if you want to throw in a percentage, that'd be awesome too. But I want to see where we are compared to where we think we are going to be. And if we're sitting at 95% and we have 3 months to go, if we're sitting at 65% and we have 3 months to go. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay, thank you.
But we can, you and I can talk about that. I don't see it, but you and I can talk about that because I actually have that in a spreadsheet. So.
Yeah. I would just like to see it on the report.
Well,
And didn't we used to get a check statement, a check ledger of who the checks were written out to?
I don't remember. Do you remember?
I don't remember that, not since I've been on the
I
board.
don't think we ever got a check register. But if you want to come in and sign the checks occasionally, you'll
Nope.
see them.
And we can talk about this later, but I would like to see that going forward.
Okay.
I think it helps tremendously with transparency, that we talk about these expenses and we talk about the big picture numbers, but knowing where the money is going from a transparency perspective, I think is very important.
So you're wanting a check register, or you're wanting what you just talked about, which is
The variance.
the variance from budget?
I want both. I want all the things. I want a check report of who the checks are made out to and for how much. And Barb, I can send you an example of what we do in what I do in other districts.
I think that what we currently do is when we do create the checks, we have a check report.
Okay, then
Yes, we can just throw that in there.
I would like that added to this. Does it give a statement of what it was for?
That's on the invoice.
That I'm not sure.
It says
Because
the
I don't want
vendor, but it doesn't necessarily have a description of what it was.
I would like to see what it's for.
Okay.
Because you only need 2 signatures on the checks. And once you get those 2 signatures, once I see that those checks have been signed, I don't know what's going out. And neither do 3 other members of the board.
Yeah, the problem with that is that there aren't descriptions of what it was for.
Not on the check register. Because the check might be for 10 invoices.
I understand
Right.
that.
And it might be 10 different things that it was for. Like if you're paying Amazon Business.
Oh, I
There might
understand.
be a whole bunch of different things.
Then can we keep the invoices handy for board meeting night so they can be reviewed if necessary?
You want all the invoices for the whole
Yes.
month?
Yeah.
Okay.
we
Yeah, I
can
do.
Yep, we can do it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Ben, thank you for your patience with that thing. All right, we will move into the chief's report. Chief Ware.
Give me 1 second.
Yes, sir.
He's making my wish list.
Of course. All right. All right, so obviously, if anybody's been outside, fire season is slowly winding down across the west. All the Elk Creek resources are home from assignments, and while it's a slow season, we still had resources staying busy in Colorado and traveled all across the west again. Recently, we were able to assist the United States Forest Service in several prescribed fires this fall with our module, and as well as work with West Metro on prescribed fire with an engine down the hill. These events are valuable. They provide great training opportunities for our members, as well as strengthen our working relationships with our partners. We were able to send an engine down to the Fallen Firefighter Memorial in Colorado Springs. We sent engine 435 down to the event. And most of this month has been tied up with budgets, which we'll get to. It has been a pretty challenging event to try and come up with that, and we'll talk more in detail. Operations, we had 315 hours of volunteer staffing at Station 1. We averaged 3.8 members per call. Only 16% of the calls overlapped, and our average response time was 8:34. We did have 3 fires. Of note, we are still getting Intercanyon's had another lightning fire this morning, or this afternoon, left over from lightning strike last night. Intercanyon also had another fire that's not on this. They had it was a larger travel trailer, it's probably 30 feet, it exploded and started creeping out in the vegetation. It wasn't driven by wind, or basically the sun was down, so it went out pretty quickly. Wildland fire season's not completely done. We still have a bumper crop of grass out, so we haven't put away all of our wildland stuff yet. Hopefully we're gonna get some snow to kind of flatten that all down, and that should slow things down. EMS calls, nothing really to note, for a total of 110 runs. We had 5 mutual aid assists, and transports were up a little bit for 39 transports. 596 hours of training for the month, and the 2023 Fire Academy is finishing up Firefighter 1, which is pretty exciting. Fire prevention, 84 inspections, 10 letters and county referrals, 5 plan reviews, and Fire Marshal Rush was able to attend the Fire Code Action Committee in Chicago for fire and WUI code revisions. We've never had a seat at that table before, so it's pretty exciting to have somebody involved in that. And Fire Marshal Rush is also working on Fire Prevention Month and coordinating some visits for schools and setting up trunk or treat for some of the community outreach. Facilities, if anybody's driven by Station 3, the siding was done as of yesterday, and they should be finishing painting the doors. We're trying to wrap up some of the capital projects. And the last big capital project that we'll be doing is we're going to be ordering vehicle lifts for fleet maintenance. There's no board action on it. It was approved in last year's budget. We've been going back and forth. Fleet manager Hojanowski has been researching. Unfortunately, up until the last few years, we really haven't been able to have something like that, because in years past, they always took 240. They were very labor intensive. They weren't very mobile. Technology's changed, so he's been looking at different vendors, and he's settled on one. We're going to get 4 18,000-pound post jacks, so we'll have the ability to lift fire engines off the ground, and it'll help with service. It'll make everything more efficient. Which is pretty exciting. That's a capital expenditure. It's going to be right around $75,000.
And where's those?
They're going to go in the maintenance bay. It's become a real challenge. He had to replace a radiator and cab over fire engines. With the design of the cab and the way it goes over, everything has to come out the bottom. So you basically have to lift up one of the 40,000-pound fire engines about 3.5 feet off the ground. And without lifts, that becomes a exciting proposition at best. I mean, obviously it can be done safely, but it's a challenge to do with what we have. He's been looking at it. We've been kind of going back and forth over the last year, so that's going to be the last big capital project we're going to do this year.
All right.
That's all I got.
Jake, how many did we start the academy with?
14?
17.
17. Oh, there he is. 17.
Okay. Did you just run him off, Jesse?
I don't think so.
I don't even think he did it. It was the natural attrition of things.
Yeah. Is that a standard?
I mean, honestly, we're doing better. Most of the time, it was at least 50%. Historically, that's what it's always been.
50% of those.
Right around there. Well, a lot of people, they get involved. I mean, it's one of those things, being a volunteer firefighter is exciting until you have to be a volunteer firefighter. You know, until you start realizing how much time is involved, how much effort's involved. You know, a lot of people just want to get the shirt and go tinker. Well, that's great. You don't get the shirt. You have all these things, and you have to pass the state test, and there's all these components.
Yeah.
And we try and be upfront about it in the beginning. And people get involved and they realize it's challenging. It takes a lot of hours, a lot of effort. And so most of the time, it's not necessarily Captain Weinfeld's fault for running them off per se. It's just the commitment. There are probably a couple he ran off, but most of the time, it's just the commitment. It's the commitment and the effort involved in it. And I mean, let's be frank, we live in a place where the average home price is what, $750 or something. People just don't have a lot of free time. You have to hustle to live up here.
Yeah.
And between families and everything else, it's a time suck that a lot of people just can't commit to.
Do you do exit interviews when you lose them? Like, do you
Sometimes it depends. It depends how they leave. I mean,
Okay.
there are honestly people that leave by bringing
showing
their
up.
gear in a bag and dropping it off at night and never showing up again.
Okay.
The people that leave that are open, yeah, we talk to them. We'll talk to them via email if we can talk face to face. And those people, those are the ones who are very honest, you know. We have young kids, I've had a job change or something like that, and they're very honest about why they're leaving. So yeah, to a certain extent we do, but others just kind of dip out in the middle.
I think it just goes to reinforce the statement that we've all seen in the industry, that volunteerism is declining
I was going to say,
at a
Pam, you probably have
dramatic
more
rate.
experience with volunteers than anybody in here times 10, and you said you see it all across the state. It's just what it is.
This is what it is.
Awesome, thanks Jake for that.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions for Chief Ware? Okay, that brings us to our next item, and that is our public comment. We have 6 people that have signed up. The first is Miss Debbie Ford. Ms. Ford, would you mind stepping up here so that we can get you on the owl and we can record your statement and everybody can hear you. You can sit or you can stand. A lot of people stand. Whatever's most comfortable for you, Ms. Ford.
Just as a point of order for everybody speaking tonight, you have 3 minutes. At the 1 minute mark, I will hold my finger up.
Oh, good.
So you can see, and then you'll hear the timer go off. Please don't make me ask you to.
Okay.
It's embarrassing for both of us.
Fire away, Ms. Ford.
Okay. My name is Debbie Ford. My address is 30772 Shadow Mountain Drive in Conifer. And I'm here to discuss the guidelines you plan on adopting for new development within your service area. To start, we have interacted with Elk Creek Fire Department District, and it has always been very positive. Thank you. As you decide what your guidelines are for new development, I appreciate you accepting community input. Fire districts have a statutory responsibility to provide fire protection services, rescue services, EMS, ambulance services, and other services related to protecting the lives in our property. I know you will carefully evaluate the process and guidelines you will adopt for all new developments. I believe that you are setting the guidelines for new development. I believe that you setting the guidelines for new developments are preventative measures that help save lives. I will use the proposed Shadow Mountain Bike Park as my example. This proposed site, as you know, will be a chairlift operated downhill mountain bike park, 16 miles of trails with buildings and challenging terrain. We all know of the many serious accidents that happen with downhill mountain biking. In addition, there is a 300 space parking lot proposed, and we would have 5,000 additional people weekly on Shadow Mountain. Estimates say 84% of fires are human caused. The goal is to be able to find an equitable method for you to determine your position on new building developments. Determine if current residents can still be accommodated at the same level and within the same response time the addition of new developments bring. This is a statutory responsibility. Do you have the resources? Determine, does the proposed development endanger the lives of the residents and the visitors if an evacuation is necessary? Fire evacuation of residents and commercial entities should be evaluated to determine the safety for all concerned. We can't just approve everything because it is proposed. 5,000 new people a week in a 300 space parking lot is viewed by most as a potential disaster in case of fire. A commercial enterprise shouldn't be built in a residential area with possibly one way or no way up. Also, do not increase fees to residential homeowners for new developments, especially when developments are commercial for-profit ventures. Provide a mechanism to charge for-profit developers with the increased fee associated with EMS and fire protection fees. We are all aware of the Marshall Fire, and in recent months, the Lahaina Fire besides the many other fires we read about, like the Paradise Fire.
Thank you, Ms. Ford.
Ms. Ford, your time's up. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
All
okay.
right, now-
Thank you very much, I sure
I
do.
know.
Do you have a letter that you would like us to?
And is that this, and forgive me, just, I need some
I'm the
clarification
same
because I
Debbie Ford.
have an email from you as
Yes.
well that we want to address. Is
Okay.
that sufficient for us? You sent it to the board.
Yeah, it's
would you like to-
basically the same information.
Okay, and that's what I, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, I
All right,
appreciate it.
and, Ms. Murphy, we have a Barbara Moss Murphy.
Hi, I'm Barbara Moss Murphy, and I live at 28942 Shadow Mountain Drive. I've lived on Shadow Mountain Drive for over 40 years, and I'm grateful and thankful for the EMS my family has received over the years. I do not want our EMS to be changed by a large-scale commercial development such as the proposed bike park on Shadow Mountain Drive. This is why I'm speaking tonight. Over 3,000 community members have signed our petition to stop the development of this bike park due to safety concerns and the potential impact this park will have on our current EMS services. Significant downhill bike injuries are common. A study completed at Whistler Mountain Park in just a 5-month period reported 2,000 injuries within 900 riders. 12% of those injuries were life and limb threatening, including broken bones, concussions, internal bleeding, organ damage, and spinal injuries. But when we're fighting the overall impact that the bike park will have on our EMS, we must go beyond the number of crashes directly at the park. We must include school bus stops and the huge increase of traffic and concerns regarding evacuation, especially in case of fire. We already, on Shadow Mountain Drive, have over 2,000 cars. Imagine what adding an additional 1,500 will do to our crash rate. Also, the stretch between the entrance of Shadow Mountain Drive and the proposed bike park is 30 miles per hour. In a recent study completed by Jefferson County, their traffic department, 98% were going over the speed limit. 13% were going over 50 miles an hour. There have been 3 fatalities between 2011 and 2020 between the entrance of Shadow Mountain Drive and just beyond the proposed bike park. We do not have the infrastructure to support a commercial bike park. With 37 minutes to the nearest hospital, and that's in good weather with no traffic. Every time an ambulance serves that bike park, our residents will be denied EMS for almost 2 hours. And I don't need to tell you that the Elk Creek Fire Department makes 30 to 40 ambulance runs a month. But we estimated, and I lowballed this, that the bike park would add 15 to 20 additional runs. It's not fair to have the Elk Creek EMS unavailable for our area residents. Possibly 50% of the time, that's 270 days a year. The impact, is that it?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, Ms. Murphy.
Okay, but I just wanted to thank you for conducting an impact study for us.
And Ms. Murphy, please don't hesitate to send that to us again. I'm pretty sure we've received that once, but if you want to send it to the board, it's clearly appropriate. Okay. All right, next is Brendan Wilkins.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brendan Wilkins. I'm obviously a volunteer here at Elk Creek, but I'm also a resident of the district. I wanted to come tonight to just address a misconception that is going around the community, and that is essentially that there is a dysfunctional relationship between the career and the volunteer members of the department. So to get straight to the point, this couldn't be farther from the truth. To the contrary, the relationship between our volunteer and career members, it's not only harmonious, but to me as a volunteer, it embodies the definition of a fire family. So you see, Elk Creek to me, it's a remarkable example of how different individuals with different backgrounds and experiences come together as a cohesive, efficient, and unified team. As a combination department, we are proof that volunteer staff can not only coexist, but thrive together. The strength of Elk Creek lies not in our mutual respect, camaraderie, or the strength of Elk Creek lies in our mutual respect, camaraderie, but most importantly, the shared dedication that exists between our volunteers and our career members. That dedication comes from a common goal that we share. It's to serve our community, protect lives, and to ensure the safety of our neighbors. The members that volunteer in this community, we are your neighbors. In fact, and actually, the dedication comes from a common goal we share. Yep. So, this shared mission unites us, transcending any distinctions between our roles. In fact, our career staff go above and beyond, pouring their knowledge and experience into the training and elevation of our volunteer members. This willingness not only enhances our volunteers' members' skills, but also reinforces the sense of unity within our department. When a call comes in, whether it be routine or a serious emergency, we are one unified team. We work seamlessly together to save lives and protect our community. So I say all of that to say, I felt it's important to dispel that misconception that our volunteer and career staff have a dysfunctional relationship with each other. Together, both career and volunteer members, we are a testament to the power of teamwork, cooperation, and unity within the fire service. We stand as a proud example of how different backgrounds and experiences can come together to serve our community and save lives. Thanks.
My name is Philip Koch. I go by Flip, have since I was in short pants. So the community here has two models of what the future of emergency response is going to be like in this area and possibly others. And one, which has been proposed by this board, and I thank you for giving us something we can vote upon, is the consolidation of this fire protection district with North Fork and Eric Canyon. The other, which is being proposed by those in opposition to this, is effectively a static, keep it as it is model. And while I appreciate that as a vote of confidence in what it is that we're doing, everybody who's inside of this bubble providing this service will tell you that we can't keep this up for a whole lot longer the way it is right now, and something has to change. So I'd like to give a cautionary historical story here. It's a true one. It goes back not quite a century to France in the late 1920s and early 1930s. There's a man by the name of André Maginot, who was the war minister of France. France, of course, had suffered through what was then called the Great War and was looking at Germany arming itself on its eastern border and said, we don't want to have the carnage we had before on our soil. Let's move it to Belgium. So let's build this giant set of bunkers along our eastern border, and that'll keep the darn Boches from invading. And it was a very expensive thing. It took a decade to complete. A third, nearly, of the French army was involved in staffing it. It was a remarkable piece of engineering, and the Wehrmacht in 1940 ran around it, encircled it in a few days, and basically it was bloody useless. 6 weeks France fell. It took 4 years during the First War, and nothing happened. So my point is, you can prepare, as they were doing, for the previous war, how things were, and be very surprised when something new comes your way. In my opinion, the consolidation effort is actually preparing for today and tomorrow. Doing what we've always been doing is preparing for yesterday. And I personally am not in favor of doing that. I hope that the voting population here will have the sense and wisdom, and I believe they do, to vote for the change that everybody inside this organization says is needed, with perhaps one exception. So that is my piece on this one. I am hoping that I get a second chance to talk in more detail, but my caution is look to the future, not to the past. Forward into the future, not backward into the past. Thank you.
Miss Missy Weinfeld.
Directors, my name is Melissa Weinfeld. I live at 41 Sunlight Lane in Bailey. I'm coming to you again to express my disapproval of one of the Board Directors' previous and continued unethical behavior and behavior that violates your bylaws. In carefully reviewing your bylaws, there is no place for internal recourse when a board member's behavior and actions are unbecoming, insubordinate, and in direct violation of these bylaws. Article 3, Section 1C states, meeting the needs of the district's constituents should be the primary purpose of each director. 1E states, directors should avoid double talk, hidden agendas, backbiting, and other negative forms of interaction. 1H, once the board has voted on an issue, such as a ballot question, the directors shall not take any actions which would create barriers or otherwise impede the district's ability to implement the board's decision. 1I, the board functions as a whole, and individual directors have no authority to speak on behalf of the board of the directors or to bind the district through their individual actions or statements. Article 3, Section 7 states a director is prohibited from taking personal advantage of a situation to benefit himself or prejudice, aka injure or damage the district. Direct violation to the above bylaws proves conflicts of interest for Director Chuck Newby, as he is a registered agent for two entities. It is my time to speak.
There is no, according to Robert's rules, there is no
Can you please stop my time?
place, no, there is no place, according to Robert's, we run this by Robert's rules,
By what rule?
and there is no place for personal attacks.
There absolutely
It's
is.
a personal attack.
She is attacking me personally.
I'm attacking
She named
violation
my
of your
name.
bylaws. You're
She
darn right I
named
did.
my name.
Yes, I did.
This is
You know what? Stand by
unacceptable.
one,
This is
mister.
unacceptable. This is unacceptable. She must sit down.
No, absolutely not. You must obey by your bylaws.
She must sit down.
As a point of order, I want both of you just to take 1 second. May I have a brief moment to speak with you outside? All right? Just a quick adjournment. Behave. Thank you all for that. I'm one that has been very passionate about Robert rules. I think that the parliamentary process allows for us to have some decorum and allows for us to run a meeting in an efficient manner that reduces conflict and ambiguous approaches to how things are run. I believe, and at the direction of council, that this is not a direct attack on you, Director Newby. Give me a second. I believe that as a public citizen, she has the right to provide concern over her perception of behavior. This is not at you directly. This is at the issue she sees surrounding behavior as a board member.
Are you finished?
Yes, sir.
So, she was okay before she named my name. When she talked about director behavior in general, it could apply to any of the directors here seated. But when she named my name, she was out of order according to Robert's rules.
No,
there's
nothing in Robert's rules that
Ms.
state
Weinfeld,
that.
And according to any sense of decorum for this body.
So I would disagree, but I will say this. Ms. Weinfeld, if you would eliminate Director Newby's name from any further portion of that, it would
Here's the
address
thing.
his concerns.
Well, okay, but here's the thing. With all due respect, you are all public servants and I am one of your constituents, and these are direct violations of Director Newby. It is not an attack, it is a fact. This is the truth, and the truth is the truth. No, I am sorry, you
All
are
right.
subject
Yes,
to criticism.
Yes, Ms. Weinfeld, real quick, I was just brought, and
Thank
Robert's
you,
rules
Director
is
DeVito.
pretty comprehensive, and it takes a while. I
Sure.
was going off my best recollection
Sure.
and of council.
Sure.
The rule, public comment, allows the public to talk about anything, and the board may question them, but no further action or discussion is allowed. There may be action on any item on the agenda unless the agenda explicitly states something to the effect of information only. So, by Robert's rules, she has an opportunity. And again, this is her
She
perception.
does not have an
about-
opportunity
She
to
absolutely-
slander me publicly.
I'm not slandering you.
She is
You are
slandering-
guilty of violating
You say
bylaws.
this- You
With
say
that,
this is
Director
fact.
Nubia,
This
this
is
is
not
your morning.
fact. This is your opinion.
No, it's not.
This is purely
Director
opinion.
No,
Newby, this
look
will
at
be your
this.
You're
first
out of
warning.
order.
No, you're out of order as a director of this
No,
board.
you're out of order.
And so if you would start my
Ma'am.
time again,
Real quick, Director Newby, she has every opportunity to continue.
I disagree.
And
You can
sir,
disagree
if
all
you
you
want
want.
to leave, you certainly can.
She is
you are slandering this department.
Miss
She is
Weinfeld,
slandering me.
Missy.
She is out of order.
So are
She
you.
is out of order.
So are you.
So I do not see this as being out of order
Well,
by the...
then you are out of order.
Everybody in the district is out of order except Director Newby and his little pet project.
Discuss anything she wants to.
I don't,
If you have issue with what she has stated, then you are at every liberty to contact your own attorney on your behalf
That's right.
to address this.
All right,
I'm almost finished with my comment. Can I please finish my comment?
I've already ruled by the justification of Robert's rules that she has the opportunity to continue. How much time does she have left?
1 minute, 22 seconds.
I'll be done before that. Direct violation to the above bylaws proves the conflict of interest because Director Newby is a registered agent for two
Again,
entities
you
whose
named
you
my
have to be.
name.
Continue.
You named my name.
Continue.
Sit down.
Director
You
Newby,
must sit
this
down.
is the
You must be
second-
quiet.
Miss Weinfeld, please continue.
Registered agent for two entities whose
This
primary
meeting is out of
focus
control.
are to campaign against the fire district. I am publicly demanding the immediate resignation of Mr. Newby
You have
from this
no
fire
right.
district. I have every
You
right.
have no
Be quiet. Be quiet.
No right.
Newby,
Oh my gosh.
Please.
Let me finish.
go ahead.
I will not stand for her.
You don't have to stand, you can
slandering
leave.
me
Ah.
publicly.
Miss
You know what?
Weinfeld, please finish.
She cannot
please.
The
name
men and
my
women of
name.
this department have stood idly by while this man
You
and his
cannot
entities
name my
have
name.
slandered this department and everything it stands for. And I am not going to deal with that anymore. What we're doing is we're calling for Director Newby's immediate resignation, which he will likely refuse.
I
Therefore,
will never
I implore,
resign.
I know you won't. So
You
therefore, I
are out
implore,
of order.
Miss
Shut
Weinfeld.
up.
You are out of
continue.
control.
you so are you. Look at
You are out
you.
of
You're a damn
control.
fool.
All right,
Weinfeld.
both of you, finish.
I want to. I'm trying.
You
He
finished.
keeps interrupting.
Almost
Speak through
done.
him.
We have 10 seconds.
Therefore, I implore the rest of you directors to schedule a meeting immediately to review your bylaws. I encourage you to add policy that gives the board recourse when a singular director is in such blatant violation of these rules. After all, what is the point in having these bylaws if they aren't enforced? How can you enforce them when there is no consequence
Okay,
of a director
Ms.
behaving so
Weinfeld.
shamefully in deliberately
Thank you very
violating these
much,
bylaws?
Ms. Weinfeld. Thank you
Slander.
very much. And-
Slander.
all right.
You too. You too. You guys remember slander. You want to keep going? Let's go.
All right, we have one last public speaker, and that is Andy Fulholm. I apologize, Andy, if I slaughtered it. Is it Fulholm?
Fulham.
All right, I beg your pardon, sir, please have a...
Thank you. There's a couple of things on here that I'm going to have to kind of redress, particularly the way that the interruptions of the last one did. So, do I have the right to take my 3 minutes at the end and redress so I
Yes,
can?
sir.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
There
You have
is
3 minutes
one.
now, and if you're signed up on the second sheet, you have 3 minutes then.
All right, let me go back to
Okay.
cleaning
Thank you
this
very
up and
much. All right.
in respect to the rules.
That ends the first public comment, and we were going to go into old business. The first item of old business is the developmental impact update.
If I can interrupt just a second.
Yes.
In reviewing the board packet, I realized we moved into public comment before the wildland division report was completed. Do we want to give
I was gonna do that, but it was kind of, there was nothing remarkable in it. And with all of the complexities with budget and everything else.
Okay, I just
wanted
wanted to
yeah.
make sure that we,
Okay, and oftentimes we have jumped over the computer.
Yeah.
All right, back to old business is the developmental impact update Director Newby requested, along with,
sorry, she was just responsive.
okay, along with your discussion. So we tabled this last month so that you would have an opportunity with Director Devaney. So you want to lead off, Director Newby?
That was, the chief was going to bring
Yep, I can do it.
something to the
Yeah,
board.
perfect, all right.
Yeah,
I just thought you would want to give a historic perspective like you did earlier.
So development has always been a challenge here. You know, it's been, I'll probably start going as far as to say the department has been almost deficient in what they've done in years past, many years past, 10, 15, 20 years ago. We allowed a lot of development to happen that started well before I think any of us lived up here when some of the strip malls were built. You know, we didn't look at impact fees. We didn't look at impact that was done up here. It was just development. It didn't really make a difference. Population was much lower. I mean, that was when, I remember when 285 was 2 lanes the whole way. That was when it was a different time, right? Now, as it's a lot busier up here, the average home price is north of 700,000. It's just a very different demographic up here, and we have a lot more people. And so now, development has become a bit of a hot button. I came on board 3 years ago, and I was in the middle of the Foothills housing bit. That was something I learned a tremendous amount from, and Mr. Camille guided me through a lot of, we got sued. In historical, everybody was here. Oh yeah, several directors were threatened to be sued individually.
No, we're sued.
Did they actually do it?
Yeah.
No.
I was one.
Yeah, they actually threatened them as well. So the historical background on that, we looked at a services agreement with the principal for Foothills Housing. So Foothills Housing, they met with us a number of times. They met with Farm Marshall Park. We had pre-development meetings like we do with everybody, and talked about a lot of the complexities in developing that project. Because it wasn't necessarily just the population density. There was elevation, there was water, there was the infrastructure, the width of the roads to get fire trucks in, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the big sticking points that fell to us was building height. You know, we don't have the ability to serve a 3-story building. Period. That is all. There's no gray area about it. We carry 35-foot ground ladders. I believe we're very efficient with them, but they will not touch a 3-story building. So Mr. Bourne, the principal with the company, we went back and forth on that, and through, I don't know, 87 different turns, we ended up looking at a services agreement. And the services agreement ended up becoming a bit of a mess. I was one of the people who helped work on that, and that involved some staffing as well as a ladder truck. The services agreement went nearly south. You know, you were very vocal about how bad it was. You know, I think you said I was on the tape. I think that were some of the
I
quotes.
didn't say that.
I have. Well,
Anyway.
Nobody said that.
I have plenty of emails. Anyway, so it was very complicated. The services agreement got very complicated within Elk Creek. We had people who were, you know, even friends and family heard that I'm being bought off by developers, etc. Services agreement it's a very common thing. Mr. Camille can attest to it. He's the one who guided us through this. This is the way a lot of fire departments deal with development. You know, you have a services agreement with development. Because the one thing that people have to understand, the fire department does not approve or disapprove development.
Who does, Chief?
It's a county.
It's
You know,
a county.
the county land use planning falls to the county. Now we can give our input, we can do whatever we want. We can say, and for everybody who saw our will serve letters, they're a lot different than they used to be. It used to be this district, this address is within our district, we provide services to it. Now we put everything with the current code, all of the requirements, and we put everything in there. And that's where the challenge became. I personally don't think Foothills would have met the requirements they had to meet. I don't think they could have supplied the water. I don't think they would have, you know, my biggest fear about that development is they would have built half of it and it would have died in the vine and we would have had a half-built development sitting behind Safeway. That was my big fear. Unfortunately, that's nothing that, as a fire protection district, and that's my fear outside of this realm. I can't say that, you know, it's not appropriate. The other thing that Mr. Camille taught me is what you can and cannot say. We ended up learning from the county attorney, it doesn't really matter what we say. It says the only thing that matters is in our will serve letter is that address is in our district and we provide service. That is all. We got that from the Jefferson County attorney. And that was referred to ad nauseum in the lawsuit that we ended up dealing with. So moving forward, we only have 3 real avenues for reimbursement with development. We have services agreements, we have PILT. PILT is payment in lieu of taxes. PILT is something that the Forest Service, the feds eventually came up with for agencies that provide, or not federal agencies that provide services to forest land. You know, North Fork Fire, Platte Canyon, we have public land, we have a lot of federal land. And then I believe in 2016, Colorado State kind of changed that where you can do that with other public lands. One of our past board presidents fought a, not excessive, but a very vocal battle with Colorado State about Staunton State Park. So everything that's being brought up now about any development, whether it be Foothills Bike Park, whatever, it was brought up, probably about 11 years ago with Staunton, because all the same things. And Director Barrett, President Barrett at the time, he actually brought up this an unfunded mandate, which, I mean, that term carries a lot of weight when you go in there. It didn't actually do anything. Staunton was developed, it opened, and we got nothing out of it. That was the first experience with it. So I think now, you know, in looking at PILT is an option for things. The last option that I think we really need to explore is impact fees. Impact fees in Colorado, early 80s, they were put in place. I guess they became an acceptable option for fire protection districts that have to provide service. What an impact fee does is you have to have a nexus study. A nexus study looks into the proposed impact of that development on a fire protection district. And then they levy a certain fee that's negotiated that comes out of that impact fee. So it's not something you can't decide that this development owes you $20 per square foot, this development owes you $2 per square. It's a set rate for square footage of development. And then it also comes to residential development. It can be anywhere. I've seen them from $500, $600 per house to even some places have $1,200 and $1,300 per residential house. This is a one-time fee. When somebody submits their plans, the county collects it, then they give it to us. There are rules on it. It can only be used for capital improvements, infrastructure improvements. You can't use it for buying fire hose or anything like that. So it's a very specific fee that you get with that. The problem with that is it falls to covered square footage area. So and I'll take the bike park for instance. I don't know how it would fall by the pure definition of the impact fee. I don't know how it falls to the bike park because I don't know what their actually covered square footage is. It doesn't take into account usage, that's kind of the wild card on this, because I don't think their development per se is going to be, their actually infrastructure, their building is not going to be that big, if you will, their building envelope. But the big usage is the hillside. So that's something that we kind of have to figure out how. I think impact fee in conjunction with the services agreement is the only way we could look at how that would work. The other thing with services agreement, it needs to be based on fact. It needs to be based on code. It needs to be based on standards. So what we looked at with Foothills, again, that's the only one I've ever been involved in, so that's my only foundational knowledge. We looked at NFPA 17 and 1720, 1710 and 1720. Has to do with population density. It also has to do with response capabilities and response times. Big thing was population. So adding Foothills, for instance, would have it would have pushed us, so in the Aspen Park area, we're in a suburban population density. People don't like to hear it. Per NFPA, that's what we are, which is 500 to 1,000 people per square mile. What his development would have done, depending on how it would have shaken out, using the average, I think it's 2.5 people per address, it would have pushed us over 1,000 people per square mile, which pushes us in an urban population density, which nobody wants to hear. But those are codes and standards, and that's what we can use to fall back on with these service agreements. And so that was what we did with Foothills. Obviously urban population density for that square mile, we had to go up to the next response standard that we try and meet. The bike park is an interesting one because there is no real code or standard with it. I started doing research on it, the direction of this body. There are 2 other bike parks that are like it in the country. And by like it, I mean smaller scale. I don't believe, and looking at it, we can compare that to, say, Trestle. If you're familiar with Trestle, it's Winter Park. I don't even know how many people. It's a huge place. There are 2 other smaller independent bike parks. There's one outside of Austin, and then there's one in New Hampshire, in, I don't know, small town New Hampshire somewhere. And they're both served by fire-based EMS. So I reached out to the fire chiefs, and I can type up, we don't need to go over the minutia of everything, I can kind of type up what I found from those guys. Surprisingly, the call volumes were relatively the same. So the one in New Hampshire is only open 6 months, it's seasonal. It's an old ski resort that they repurposed into this thing. The one in Austin, they close mostly during the summer because it's blooming hot there. It's like 100, and I think when I talked to the fire chief there, it was 109. And he said, yeah, it sounds awful. Nobody goes there. Their visitation is down very low, but their visitation is up in the winter when it's remotely palatable in that section of the country. So I can type all this up with you guys, and then what we need to do as a body is figure out when these special use things come in. So a condo, that's easy. We got codes, we got standards, impact fees, that's easy, right? These special use things, when they come into the district, those are the ones, they don't fall into any one area. And so that's where it's a challenge, and we need to tread very lightly, because if we go out of line, we learned with the foothills thing, if we step out of our purview and we, everybody says we approve or don't approve development, we do not. We make comments on it, but that is all we can do. And if we get in any role, and I see Mr. Camille nodding his head, we've gone over this a lot with him, then we have to tread lightly on what we say. Services agreements, because again, we don't do land use, we do response. So what I think the board should do, and we don't have to make a decision on it tonight, I sent this out a couple months ago, is look at hiring a company. To do an impact fee, you have to have a nexus study. The nexus study takes everything into account. Our district, our apparatus, blah, 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 all of the bits, and then it looks at NFPA standards, and then it looks at development. How many houses? We average about 25 to 28 homes, new homes a year. Not a lot. And then it also looks at stations, conditions of equipment, what the impact would be on adding those things. And that's why commercial development, that's why it's covered. So obviously the bigger the development, the more money that would come in because of the more traffic in and out of it. So I think what we need to look at is hiring a company. The one I sent out, Captain Yellen did a bunch of research on it. That's probably the one we should go with. They were the most receptive. He spoke to them. There were several. There was one that just wouldn't even talk to us because they were too small. We're not a big department down the hill. We're not going to provide a big revenue source for them. And so if we can get that nexus study in place that will recommend what we get for commercial and residential development, I think that's the first step in looking at this, because that's going to provide us a lot of foundational data. Then I think from there, we need to really explore, and that'll be working with Mr. Camille, what we can do for these special use recreational lands. Because I don't know. I will say, and anybody who knew Director Barrett, going head to head with the state, saying unfunded mandate is not super successful. Not for us anyway. We just didn't get anywhere with it. So I think this is, and while I think he really fought the good fight, and he tried to do the right thing with it, that obviously isn't the avenue that we need to take with it. I think we need to take more of a strategic approach with it and have all these things in place, because these aren't the first developments or the last developments. There's going to be more. We still have open tracts of land. There aren't a lot of them, but people are going to come and they are going to develop. I've had I think I put in an email, I've had 2 phone calls from people representing developers for the land behind Safeway. Yep. They want to know, everybody wants to know about the services agreement and the complexities about that. I brought that to them. They wanted to know the 3-story reason. I brought all that. They were very interested in what was said. They didn't say who they were with, and that's fine, I understand that. They were just on a bit of a fact-finding thing. But I do believe it's going to come, and I do believe we need to get some things in place so when it comes again, and the next Foothills Housing shows up with condos, we already have everything in place, and it will be, great, okay, this is our process. Instead of trying to backpedal and look at this. And I mean, I say that we failed, I don't mean we failed, we just weren't, we were using, into Flip's analogy, we were always looking in the past. Because another developer, he spoke to this body at the development that's going to go behind the Staples. He pointed out all the buildings are already over 3 stories that we've already allowed. And we're choosing to pick on him. And he's going to fight that. And he's not wrong. I mean, he's got a, you know, it's there. So that's why I think if we get ahead of this now and we start looking at these, you know, get an impact fee and really get a solid foundation of how we can handle this development, and the next time it comes, we'll have everything set up.
All right, any questions for the chief?
I have
I mean, that was a
Yeah, that's
tremendous insight, and it gave us a great deal of history, so thank you. Go ahead, Director Remain.
What, refresh my memory because I didn't go back and look at that original email.
Of course.
What is the name of the organization, company? Stop the boss.
I was going to say, that was...
I know. Okay, well,
Yes.
while you're looking up at that, did you come in with an estimated cost for the study?
Rough number, we didn't get an actual RFQ for him, but
Okay.
he's rough was 18 to 20, which is actually less, that's less than I had originally, when we had sussed it out with some of the companies, they were talking 25 to 35.
Yeah.
And
18 to 20 is
so,
completely
I mean,
reasonable.
18 to 20 to me seems very appropriate, and that's, you know, obviously, it's, honestly, it'll probably go up a little bit once we actually get the
Yep.
the RFP and have it lined out.
Okay.
Chief, do you want us to pull up that email so we can talk specifically about what you found? Because I have a feeling there's going to be a motion here in my near future. And
Really?
I wanna make
What
sure-
would give you that idea?
Because I would like to have the motion.
Mr. Camille.
Search consultant.
So at water and wastewater districts on, specifically water districts, on taps for commercial entities, there is a 5-year look-back period where we look at what the entity is doing. We say, okay, based on what you think you're gonna do, we say you need 5 taps. And then with the next 3 to 5 years, we go back and we look at their actual usage. And we say, okay, you actually need 7 taps, and there's this understanding that you have to purchase those additional taps. So that, could we apply the same conceptual model to special use fees? Like, we agreed to do this thing for you, special use agent, but you understand based off of this agreement that we're gonna come back and look at you in a couple of years and say, we've run this many calls, you thought we were gonna run this is how much time we're dedicating, we now want to readjust this fee.
So we would have to be in a contract with the developer?
It's a service agreement, basically. Like, we agree that we are going to provide EMS and fire service to this special use. And as a result, we may have to change based off of how much you're running us. Or we may require you to hire your own because we can't handle your volume. Which I know has been done in other small districts with fire and EMS. I was just talking to this great guy down in Gunnison-ish.
Let's stay on point.
Anyway, but what they do is they go back and say, we can't handle you.
So
You need to hire your
There
own.
was a question to Mr. Camille.
Can we do that?
So, kind of 2 points of clarification there is that unfortunately, from a fee-based standpoint, fire districts are much more limited in fee structure statutorily.
Yeah.
There's, the potential difference there though is as a matter of contract. So if you had, the problem there is kind of this in-between, and that's one of the benefits of impact fees, because you're completely statutorily authorized to have an impact fee. You get the nexus study and you have a set fee schedule. So whenever anyone comes in, it's just, here's where you fit it on the fee schedule, this is what the dollar amount is. And so it takes out that kind of subjective component. The service agreement is a lot more difficult because that is inherently subjective in a negotiation. It would be more difficult, so in the water, wastewater context, there's much more broad authority to set fees, particularly things like tap fees, and what you can do with your rules and regs to do that, because we do have water and sanitation district clients that do exactly that. So it would probably be, again, I think what Chief has identified is the combination approach. I think the benefit, I would say, getting the impact fee standardizes it, but ultimately doesn't get you to that special use issue. So I think the next level of that is, how do we make that process as transparent and fair, because it is inherently going to be subjective each time, but so that you can have that similar type of NFPA standard or impact fee standard where you say, look, we've thought about this, here's our backup, this is why we're going to require X, Y, and Z in a service contract. And then I think as part of that, you can say, clearly, you're doing this on the front end, it's a negotiation based on expectations at the time, so as a matter of contract, you could say, we would reserve the right to, look back and reassess. So I think that would potentially be possible, but you would kind of be, separating the two.
Separating. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on. Do you have something else?
Yes, I would like to do
I
that.
want to respect
What's the name of the
everybody's
organization?
It's BBC Research Consultants. I've got.
I would like to make a motion.
If you were quite capable, go ahead.
That the department, that Chief Ware, request an RFP of BBC Consultants.
BBC Research.
What he said.
Okay, it's BBC Research and Consulting, and I can send you their.
Yeah, that. And with. And in the event, I'm trying to figure out how to word that correctly. I would like you to engage in an agreement with BBC Research and Consulting, what he said, to have this nexus study done not to exceed $25,000.
Okay. For what purpose?
For the purpose of assessing what he said.
Impact fee nexus study.
Yes,
That.
for establishing an impact fee schedule.
See, I'm really good at putting this all together.
I respect what the intent is. I want to make sure that their secretary gets it down where there's already concerns surrounding.
Don't look at me.
No.
I went down to put all those sentences together into one motion.
I defer to Attorney Camille to draft the language for that.
Well played. So I think, if I'm understanding it correctly, it would be a motion to authorize Chief Ware
Resourceful.
to engage with BBC Research and Consulting for the purposes of performing an impact fee nexus study for the Elk Creek Fire Protection District, not to exceed $25,000.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
I'm not cheating. I'm using my resources that are available.
That was perfect. All right. There's a motion by Director Devaney.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
A second?
Yes.
All right. And discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion?
No.
No? Discussion on the motion last time. Okay. Would you like to read the motion?
Oh, good Lord.
What he said.
Yeah, what
We
he
could
said.
have John read it again.
I was gonna, can I, yeah, John.
Okay.
We've
There was
reached
a
the point
motion
of
by
video.
Director Devaney, seconded it by Director Baker that reads, or stated as.
Motion to authorize the chief to engage the services of BBC Research and Consulting for an impact fee nexus study up to $25,000. What did I miss?
I think that's it.
Okay,
Not to exceed 25,000.
not to exceed, thank you.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
And we do have a quorum, so that motion will carry, regardless if she votes yes or no. Let's see.
As a
Actually,
point of clarification.
let me just call her.
Okay.
Because she was on. She's on here.
Does she have, what do you think, Sharon? Yes or no?
She's not going to be able to answer the phone. She's on Zoom on her phone.
Answer in chat, man. As a point of clarification for all members of the audience and to go into our minutes and for the record, the fire department is not in the business of land use. We hear you. We understand your concerns. But we are limited in what we can say and do, and any land use concerns, issues, anything developed, all of that resides with the county.
Thank you, Director Devane. I've got a text into her. Regardless of how she votes, that vote will carry because, did you hear? I thought I heard something.
No, it just said
That was.
All right.
Thank you.
So we will record her vote, but regardless of how she votes, that motion will carry. All right, second item under old business is the administrative secretary update, and I don't think I wrote that down correctly, but it's the
Update on the
assistance to the secretary administrative, so where we are at.
I can touch on that?
Yes, sir.
We've already contacted her. She just didn't have the lead time to do this month's minutes.
Okay.
Everything should be in play. Next month should be good.
Okay.
That's the goal.
Next month will be easy.
Challenge accepted. But, yeah, so we did contact her. We are working on all those things, but she didn't have the lead time to get this one done. And that's where that's at.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're in new business, and I think we have a lengthy discussion, or the
yes and
first
no.
item of business is the preliminary 2024 budget.
So, the budget.
If I can make a point of order. As everyone on this board is aware, our budget is subject to significant changes, one way or another, with the election. I appreciate that you met the spirit of the budget requirement, but I don't think it is worth the board's time, your time, or the audience's time to discuss this budget, knowing full well that in 18 days, give or take, you will have to come up with it, something completely different.
That's correct.
So I move to table this discussion. Thank you for meeting the deadline. Bravo.
I did want to touch on one thing though, if it's okay.
Real quick, before we do that, I want to confirm that that is appropriate.
Of course.
Okay. Mr. Camille, is the motion to table the discussion surrounding the 2024 budget appropriate in this context?
Yes.
Okay.
So the submission of the budget, so that as Director Devaney stated, the budget officer is required to submit a draft budget prior to October 15th. So that's the deadline that's been met by the submission of the draft budget. But certainly, we're talking through this with every single client. So the reference to Senate Bill 303 and Proposition HH, which is on statewide ballot this year, will have significant effects. So ultimately, my 2 cents at this point to all boards is, in particular, if Proposition HH passes, get used to the idea of adopting your budget based on a good faith estimate. I think there's probably going to be about a 100% rate of budget amendment in 2024 if Proposition HH passes, because part of the process is going to extend certain deadlines. So if HH passes, the deadline for the county to provide final assessed values is pushed until December 29th. Then mill levy certification is moved to January 5th. They did not change the budget adoption deadline though, so you still have to adopt your budget by December 31st.
Oh, Jesus.
So you have 2 days, which happens to be New Year's Eve weekend,
Yeah.
because the 29th is a Friday. So that is it's been a mixed amount of information as to how county assessors are attempting to prepare in advance for having to switch and kind of recalculate all of the final assessed values based on if HH passes. So, is it possible that you might get a final assessed value before the 29th? Certainly possible, but they will have until the 29th to deliver that final assessed value. So Typically, the board adopts the budget prior to December 15th because that, December 15th is the mill levy certification deadline. The budget law says you have to adopt your budget before you certify your mill levy. If you have to certify your mill levy by the 15th, you have to adopt your budget before the 15th. Since that certification is getting moved, you technically now get the full month of December, but you're not going to have that final assessed value until closer to the 29th. So I would say the majority that I've heard from and discussed this with at this point are staying on a typical schedule. They're going to do their best to estimate and get to a final budget and adopt it in a relatively normal time frame in that kind of first, second week of December. What you're not going to know until basically the end of December, early January, is what your final revenue number will be. Yeah.
So our
With that
December's going to be busy.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. We can amend the budget.
Correct.
I would ask that you budget conservatively and responsibly. I would ask that the board recognize we can amend this budget, and we will very well have to do so. Because I really don't feel like scrambling
And I think that's a
on December 29th.
Well, I mean, that's really all we can do with this.
It's not fair.
We cooked this up based on losing the 2.5 mills, going down to 10 mills,
Thank you.
and looking with a 15% increase, because if HH passes, so without HH, we'd be looking at a little over 30% increase.
Yeah, I think
With
that
HH, we're probably 15% is the conservative side. We reached out to Mr. Kamel, and he kind of, he agreed that that's a safe bet. If it's higher, that's a win, but there's a low probability it'll be lower. So that's where we built this. Now, instead of going through everything, if you look, there's nothing really exciting here, except I did want to talk about our beginning balance. So we've got some people that are critical of the fact we've actually saved money and become a solvent agency. So we're going to start spending it. We need to buy 2 new fire engines. This is why we've been saving this money. Elk Creek historically has always had to lease purchase fire engines. And lease purchase is a good option, but if we have to do it, especially right now, the interest rates are not ideal. And if we're, we have finally saved enough money where we can theoretically write the check for the new engines, which is what we've been trying to do. Chief McLaughlin laid that foundation. That's what he said he wanted to get to the point where we have the option. If we can get a lease purchase for 1.5%, then obviously lease purchase. If we're looking at lease purchase for 7 or 8%, then we want to write a check for it.
Okay.
So we're in a position right now, and the one big change in this budget, so if we do lose our 2.5 mills, that's going to basically take 270-ish thousand out of our budget. What that's going to do is affect capital. We're not affecting programs, we're not affecting employees, firefighters, any of that, because we can't do that. Our most valuable thing is our people, so we have to keep all of those set. We also have a fire engine from 1998 that may or may not work most of the time. If it gets put in service, it works sometimes. We need to replace that one. We also have another one that's 2004. NFPA says 20 years, they need to be gone. Right now, with a 3-year lead time on engines, we already have a committee stood up. What I'm proposing in this budget is we get into our reserves, what we've been saving for, and set it up where we can buy 2 fire engines. In here, I put 2.2 million in it, which is a staggering number. But right now, if you look at Pierce E1, most of the vendors for engines are hovering right around $1 million, which is mind-boggling. The last full custom engine we bought in 2015 was $740. So, big change, and that's a philosophical discussion for you guys. Now, the next part of this is, we're not going to have to pay for the whole thing up front. What do we want to do with this? It's just like the ambulance, which I was going to come at the next board meeting. The ambulance that we budget $300,000 for this year, we're not going to get it for 3 years. We can pay for it up front. We even tried to offer to do that to get further up in the queue, but everybody else is doing that. What I think we should do is put the minimum down up front, leave it in the Colorado Trust account, which makes great interest for us, and we can at least make a couple dollars, especially when we're talking about 2.2 million. That's real money, and that'll make us. I'd rather us make money off that money than give it to a vendor on the front end. We can put whatever deposit we have to have, but I will be coming to you guys when it's time to buy that to cut that check.
I would like to encumber that money budgetarily to ensure that it is there.
What I'd like is it earmarked, because, you know, a lot of things can change in boards and everything else. I mean, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. There are a lot of things that could change. What we need to do is make sure we earmark that money after those purchases are ordered, that even if the board changes, it would.
This is encumbered.
This is here, we already have that money spent.
So
I'm fine with
that'll
that.
take a motion for us when we go through budgetary process next month?
Yeah, I think that's where it'll be, as long as
It
everybody.
is, yeah, you write it into the, you approve, the way I understand it, and you can clarify, because we're doing this on my side, is you approve your budget, and then you actually pass a resolution that encumbers X amount of funds to a particular CIP.
Yeah, so that's
So
essentially, the restriction of funds would be specifically by a separate resolution.
Yeah,
And that actually allows you, that's part of a compliance with TABOR as well, because you're basically entering into the contract for that, 1.1 each or whatever it'd be. But it's not actually going to reflect until a future, 2 or 3 budgets down.
Yeah.
So you'll have that on the books and basically restrict those reserves and that amount for that purchase based on that contract obligation.
yeah, and it has to stay in an interest earning account.
And that's why I want to make sure that, the board agrees to do that, because if there are changes, what I don't want is if I'm gone and half you guys are gone, we have something come up for new fire engines and.
Can I call you owe us money?
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the discussion. Yeah.
Question, so if we encumber that money, are we still gonna earn
Yes.
the same amount of?
Yeah, because we hold it in our account, and
Okay.
basically it's just a resolution
So it's
saying
not
it's
even going into
earmarked. No.
a low interest?
Nope, it
type?
stays exactly where it needs to
Okay.
be.
It stays in your general, it can stay in your general
But
fund,
it's just.
but it's
Yeah,
off your books, you can't spend it,
Yeah,
because
got
you've
it.
already spent it.
yeah,
When you do the next budget,
Yeah.
when you do the real one,
yeah.
I like the final, I like the projected.
Yep.
Obviously the proposed. I want to see the approved 2023 budget.
Okay.
I want to see what we approved versus what we want next year, please.
Can do.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions surrounding the budget?
No.
And I guess one more bit about that, that AMBO that we approved, that's gonna be in the same boat. We're not gonna get it for 3 years. We actually put our names on the list for 2 of them, because in 3 years, our 3 ambulances right now are gonna be, they're,
Toast.
yes, that could be the understatement.
So do we need to, we would need to encumber that, we budgeted for it this year?
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Camille, can you write a resolution encumbering the funds for that ambulance for the November meeting?
Okay, yeah.
When are we having our budget hearing? When is that scheduled?
Going to depend on November.
I was gonna say, so right now, the board meeting's 2 days after the election.
Okay, but we can have it on the we can have our budget hearing on the 14th and approve the budget on the 14th of December.
Yeah,
We just have to sign that little mill levy certification.
Yeah, well, the certification, so you'll have, typically, the board action is just the 2 resolutions. It'll be the budget adoption appropriation, and then the resolution to set mill levy. And the resolution to set mill levy actually provides, because there's statutory leeway to say, this is what you had at the time, because a lot of folks historically adopt their budget before they get their final levies.
Yeah.
So the resolution says, per statute, if there's an increase in revenue based on the final assessed value, that's, you're permitted to collect that full amount of money. So it'll be the same approach, it's just that there's a little bit more of an unknown attached to it this year. But yeah, at this point, December 14th would be fine to plan for the budget hearing. So you could go the preliminary, that's what a lot of folks are doing, is preliminary discussion post-election so that you know whether or not HH passed. Then it gives you more direction as to how to finalize the budget, and then you will publish for the actual budget adoption hearing for your December meeting.
Okay, I would like that, so as we all know, the courier has very tight deadlines, and when you can turn in a legal notice, I would like, unless there's objection for the board, I would like that budget hearing posted for December 14th as soon as possible to meet the 30-day requirement.
Clarification, there's not a 30-day requirement.
On budgets?
No. No, it says, it's poorly worded statute, but there is no specific time requirement.
Okay,
for the
we've
budget.
always handled it as a 30-day quit, okay.
A lot of folks have adopted that as a policy, is that that's how they want just the, just similar to how we were saying in the pension bylaws, as a matter of policy, 10 days before a meeting. But as far as statute goes, there's not a specific time limit, but we can certainly, or because the courier is difficult timing-wise to us. You really have to walk back the dates.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, because we've missed the deadline for next week already.
Mhm.
So I think I would rather be safe than sorry.
I'm totally on board with that.
So all you have to do is say we're having our budget hearing on the 14th. You don't have to say what the budget numbers are or
Yep.
what the mill levy
Don't-
is, just that we're gonna
Yep.
have it. And so I
And
think
hopefully by
that
then
covers
we'll have
us. And I
something
am,
more than a rough guesstimate.
I am a big fan of covering when it comes to those posting requirements.
So we'll be able to cover everything on the December meeting.
Yeah. And also, just to put it on your radar, an additional component, if HH passes in 303, is the annual inflation cap that was added. So you're also going to have to calculate what that inflation cap is, and there's an extremely confusing list of exceptions. So we're probably early next week, we'll be sending out to all our clients kind of a white paper to walk through some of this. But there's essentially a new cap, similar to kind of a Tabor cap, which is inflation-based, so your revenue can't grow annually more than CPI.
Okay.
And they picked one of the, I think, the metro area, kind of the
That's
standard. But you can still collect more than that, but it requires a public hearing and resolution process. So if HH passes, we'll also have to look at that inflation number, and the board will have to do an additional notice and a resolution if the board wants to exceed that inflation cap. So just, again, there's a lot of moving parts to everything going on right now, so want to keep it on people's radar.
So John, if HH passes, when does it take effect? Is it Jan 1, or is it phased in, or different provisions come in at different times?
Yeah, it's technically, 303 is the bill, the legislation,
right.
And it's actually a 10-year period of time, so it actually makes adjustments along a 10-year.
Right.
So it starts effective this tax year, though, which is why there's that kind of undecided component of this year's budget, is that it will impact assessed values for this tax year, so the final.
So it looks back.
It will look back.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so the assessed values for 2023 would change.
Okay.
And then that's for taxes collected in '24,
Right.
based on AV of '23, and then it moves forward from there for a 10-year period.
It's a mess.
If it gets out of court after.
Thank you. I know that this was not fun.
Okay, any other discussion on the 2024 budget?
Actually, real quick, just another piece of information. There's a couple things that we've been trying to clarify for people, because the 30% and kind of reduction of 15% was like year to year, so compared to last year. But the estimated values that you got from the county this year did account for Senate Bill 22-238, which was last legislative session's adjustment to assessment rates. So the estimated values that you got this year did reflect already a fairly substantial portion of that 15 to 20% reduction from last year, because there were reductions in assessment rates on both sides in 238. So 303 will be in addition to that. So there's just, I think folks kind of started getting confused, because you were talking about compared, 2022 to 2023 based on 303 impact. That's the steepest impact you'll see. But since we've had estimated values come out and folks have started adjusting it, that's based on the reassessment, so the increase in actual values, but the reduction in 238. So that's a little bit closer to, I think most people now are saying, and again, it depends on your property tax makeup, but the difference between 238 and 303 is likely to be anywhere between 3 and 12% additional from what you saw in your estimated value. So again, some folks fairly insulated. The really small ones are heavily residential or rely on oil and gas. We have a couple clients in Weld County that are just like, we don't care. Because they get carried with oil and gas revenue and it doesn't really impact them. But that, I just wanted to clarify that as far as looking at your estimated values that you got from the county recently. It's not going to be, or ideally, hopefully, it's not another 15% on top of that number. It should be a slightly smaller percentage, but that kind of depends on your property tax mix.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you, John.
All right, second item under new business was an email from Ms. Debbie Ford. She had mentioned that she's going to send her statement to us, so there's no reason to address that.
Okay.
Our past president, Greg Branch, provided me a handwritten letter, and I looked on my email. I'm not sure it got through, but I will send that to you.
Yeah, it did.
It did? Okay. And I'm not going to read that because it would set a precedence and I don't want to start, but I will say that our past president has concerns about the truth and the ethics of this board and this community, and he would like us to be more prone to work together, and I'll leave it at that. I think we can read into what his intent is. Finally, fourth item under new business is a personal, or appointed personal.
I'm going to yield that to the floor because it is 9. It is almost 9 o'clock.
Then that ends our new business, and we will move into our second public comment. Our first comment is coming from Andrew McManus.
Hey everybody. Don't usually come to these, I'm usually watching you guys.
And real quick, we're going to start time over. I want to remind everybody that's in here and anybody who has signed up to speak and my fellow board members, all fellow board members, that we speak with respect to one another. We can have concerns. There's no reason to raise our voice. Raising our voice only creates, it perpetuates anger. And as president, I'm not going to allow any more loud outbursts. You will be given your whole 3 minutes to speak. I have created a decision as president that that anybody who wishes to speak will have the right to do so and with their perspective. Thank you.
Just a reminder, for all speakers, you have 3 minutes. I will time it. 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, and then you'll hear.
And I'm so sorry to have interrupted you.
That's okay. I just wanted to thank everybody for letting me speak. I usually watch these on YouTube, so I kind of know what's going on, but I don't ever come because this is way past my bedtime. But this is an issue that's important to me. I'm a volunteer here at Elk Creek. I have been for 2 years. I may or may not be the top volunteer here as far as hours worked. I worked over 110 hours at the station last month, in addition to working 60 hours a week at my job. So I'm here a lot. Time management is a strong suit of mine, so I'm able to do that, still spend time with my wife, still pet my dogs, still do all that stuff. But I take this very seriously, and like I said, I wouldn't normally be here, but there's been a lot of misinformation being put out about the volunteers here at Elk Creek. One is that we don't get along with the union members, which my brother Brendan Wilkins mentioned earlier, and that's completely bogus. I went through the fire academy, I went through EMT class, I went through hazmat, I went through all kinds of training, but that's book learning. Everything I learned that's worth a darn, I learned from the union members here. I come in here and I work 8 hours at a time, I work 24 hours at a time. And these people are taking time out of their day to teach me things. They're the only reason I'm good at anything I've done here, is because of the union members. So I want to make that point very clear. And the other part of it is, there's another misnomer out there that we, as volunteers, we could possibly take the place of career firefighters. I work a lot here. If I'm the top volunteer at Elk Creek, I probably work more than anybody on the mountain because this is the busiest department. And I'm telling you right now, I can't do what these people do. On a day, they're doing it twice every 6 days. I'm here as much as I can. You know, I can get in the back of the ambulance, I can get you an IV, I can do all these things. But These guys are doing it way more often. They're way more practiced at it. And the other part of that is, I'm the top volunteer here, and I work in Commerce City 5 days a week. So to expect, it's not like the volunteers, we might be in the community. But I'm not at home in gear waiting for a call to come in. Like, oh, please, I'm working my job. I'm hanging out with my wife. I'm taking my dogs on a walk. I'm doing all these kinds of things. I might go to dinner and have a few drinks. Therefore, I can't respond at all. So to insinuate that you can replace needed career firefighters that can walk downstairs, get in your rig, and go with a volunteer like me, as dedicated as I am, is just 100% false. There's no possible way that can work. So we absolutely need more career firefighters up here, and I think that's kind of funny. That's an argument that's being used against consolidation, is that they're going to hire all these career firefighters. Yeah, hell yeah, we need them. Hell yeah. And they're also going to help train more volunteers, and it's going to go fine. So I think I'm just here to clear that up, because there's a lot of information about volunteers, but nobody's actually talked to a volunteer.
Okay, Mr. Mayor. Next, I'll call up Mr. Jesse Weinfeld. And Mr. Weinfeld, please state your affiliation to yourself.
Yeah, I'm Jesse Weinfeld, resident of the Fire District, live at 41 Sunlight Lane in Bailey. I'm here this evening representing the Elk Creek Professional Firefighters, IAFF Local 4710. To the Board of Directors, we want to officially express our support of your previous majority vote to put the choice for consolidation to the voters on this upcoming election day. We want to say thank you for the hard work it took to get here. The firefighters of the Local 4710 know it is pivotal that we look to the future by standing together and working together as a united district to best protect the residents, homes, and lands of our beloved mountain community. We would like to state our gratitude to the volunteers who stand beside us every day and who have also supported these efforts toward a consolidated and unified district. We have come to understand that there may be some misunderstanding, confusion about what the union does and about how our local relates to volunteer staff. So I'd like to shed light on a few things. The most effective lobbying for the Colorado Fire Service is provided by the CPFF, the Colorado Professional Firefighters, who has achieved multiple successes for the state's firefighters across the industry, career and volunteer alike. Here are just a few examples. The CPFF was instrumental in lobbying the state of Colorado to create the Firefighter Disease and Prevention Grant and to continue ongoing funding for this initiative. This grant puts millions of dollars towards purchasing equipment designed to increase firefighter safety and prevent occupation-related diseases. From these grant monies, every year 1/3 goes to paid departments, 1/3 goes to combination departments, and 1/3 goes to volunteer-owned departments. The CPFF was also instrumental in creating the Cancer Trust, Heart Trust, and behavioral health programs here in the state of Colorado. The Cancer and Heart Trust help cover the expenses that are incurred when one of our sisters or brothers is battling cancer or heart disease, two of the biggest killers in our industry. The Behavioral Health Program ensures firefighters have access to mental health treatments and reimburses firefighters for the cost of these treatments. These programs apply to career and volunteer firefighters alike across the state, and they were all driven by the CPFF. Lastly, I just want to personally thank all of the board members for your efforts in supporting Elk Creek Fire District, supporting the firefighters. With the exception of Director Newby, I truly believe that each one of you has the firefighters, the mountain community, and the district in your best interest, and I appreciate that, so thank you.
Is Bethany Urban.
My name is Bethany Urban, and I am also representing the IAFF, Local 4710, and I will pick up where my colleague left off. On a national level, the IAFF vehemently fights for the safety of all firefighters. 2/3 of firefighter deaths occur from cancer. Earlier this year, it came to light that the single most consistent cancer-causing exposure we firefighters have are the forever chemicals found in our own bunker gear. Manufacturers have been lying about this for decades. Who do you suppose has the resources, the ability, the knowledge, and yes, the money to not only fund the testing it took to reveal this silent killer, but also to take legal action against the likes of giants such as 3M and DuPont and say no more? It was and it is the IAFF. And when new bunker gear becomes available without these cancer-causing agents because the IAFF has demanded it, it will benefit every single firefighter in this country and Canada, both career and volunteer alike. Let's talk about another hazard of this job that is all too common: suicide. Yes, I'll say that word again and let's start talking about it: suicide. The IAFF and the CPF put forth significant efforts to create behavioral health initiatives to combat this. For example, in the past month, the CPFF sponsored peer support training. Elk Creek Local 4710 was in attendance, and we are in the process of building a peer support program that will benefit and be available to every single firefighter here, career or volunteer, to help them get the resources they need. In addition, when the Local 4710 went to the leadership of this fire department and said we need more access to mental health support, the board and our fire chief worked with the union to develop an MOU with a local counseling center to ensure every firefighter here, volunteer and career alike, has access to mental health services for which those members will not have to foot the bill. The dues paid by 342,000 union firefighters and paramedics go to initiatives such as those that we have listed here to help all firefighters stay safe and alive. So, are we proud to be a part of a district that has union money and influence? You bet we are. Because just like wildfire does not care where your district boundary lies, what your board you are on, where you pay your taxes, cancer and suicide do not care if you are a volunteer or a career firefighter. This is why the members of the IAFF, Local 4710, will always remain union strong, continuing to fight for initiatives, laws, and agreements that benefit the future and health of every firefighter here, including the volunteers, for which each of the local members would gladly put their life on the line, as I know they would for us. So to this board of directors, we commit to this. We will do the utmost to help ensure the volunteer component of a consolidated district remains present, strong, vital, because the volunteers you see here in this room today are not just our colleagues, they are our family. We don't just like them, we love them. And we will stand together shoulder to shoulder with them moving forward in these coming years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And sir, I hope I'm correctly pronouncing.
Fulham, yeah, thank you. My name is Andy Fulham. I live at 8847 Surrey. And before I start this, I just want to say what an honor and a privilege it is to be in the presence of Elk Creek Fire Department, the professionals, the volunteers. Really, without you, you're the difference maker. So on behalf of the community, thank you for everything you do. You're just incredible people. Thank you very much. Just as a point of clarification, some of the points that I'm making are specific to a board member, not in your capacity as a board member, but as the registered agent, vice president, and treasurer of concerned citizens. Please tell me the battery didn't just die. All right. You can start my time, thank you. After learning about some of the issues and concerns mentioned by my previous community members, thank you for doing that. I'd like these concerns to be addressed and responded to, please. With respect to the unauthorized use, I asked the board, but when I drive and I see these signs about anti-consolidation, bike park, they're conflated. It's an attempt to be one and the same. I liken the ECFD's logos, badges, garbs, and banners to the stolen Valor Act, meaning your unauthorized use of ECFD monikers is an attempt to align and gain votes in your anti-consolidation campaign and conflate these separate and unrelated views. In other words, the unauthorized use of these logos, these brave people people have earned is something that's concerning, and to me, it's a blatant attempt to further a personal agenda and goal, which is to take away what would be the best for the community. That would be consolidation. This group, this group is trying to remove what is good for us in the interest of a specific board member. My belief on this, and this is just my belief, consolidation would remove Director Newby. So
1 minute.
At that point, I see these nothing but, personal. This is a personal gain against what would be best for the neighborhood. There's the pledges and the oaths that you have made. I call into question, as my community members said, violations of 3.1H, 3.1I. In addition to other violations of the Colorado Campaign Finance Fair Act, I would like you to produce all the emails. I would like members to produce email lists that you have purchased and a supporting audit to market your campaign. Specifically, the one that I'm talking to, Chuck Newby. I do request, and I think it would be in the best interest of our community that Chuck Newby resigns his seat as a board, and to help the community move forward with consolidation, which I think is a good thing. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
My apologies, I jumped over just errantly. I apologize, Ms. Weinfeld, but you had signed up to speak.
I will now address new business and explaining recent legal violations and how they tie to district bylaws. Mr. Newby is the registered agent to initiate committees, Save Elk Creek Fire, actively campaigning against and blatantly lying about the consolidation efforts of this fire district. While he and this committee are legally registered, they are not representing the registered agent on electioneering materials. He and this committee are also illegally using the department's trademark logo without permission. Despite the feelings of entitlement to the use of this legally protected logo, he is in violation of District Bylaws Article 3.1H and 3.1I in taking actions creating barriers that impede the district's ability to implement their decision and acting independently of the fire board as a whole, respectively. This is also a violation of Colorado Revised Statute 113-107, called violation of duty of a public officer, and CRS 113-109, false or reckless statements relating to candidates or questions submitted to electors. Furthermore, the use of the department's logo makes it appear that the department is campaigning, which would also be considered a violation of Colorado campaign fair practice laws. That use of this logo endangers the integrity of this department. Therefore, a complaint has been made around these issues to the Secretary of State Campaign Finance Enforcement Office. He is also a registered agent of an LLC that is illegally campaigning against the district's consolidation efforts. Conifer and South Evergreen Community Committee is a registered LLC, but they are not a registered issues committee. Without being a registered issue committee, an entity may not campaign for or against a ballot measure. A complaint has also been filed against this entity with the SOS for violating Colorado campaign and political finance laws. He is working with another citizen group going by the name of Concerned Citizens of Conifer, which is not registered anywhere with the Secretary of State as a legitimate entity or with Tracer as an issue committee. However, this group paid for an electioneering communication, aka campaign material, without being a registered issue committee and without naming a registered agent, which is a violation of Colorado campaign finance law. And if you are not registered with Tracer, you are unable to make campaign finance expenditure reports, which is also another violation of Colorado campaign finance law. These actions and behaviors are not only unbecoming of a fire board director, but quite frankly illegal, as it applies to an election in distributing false information against this fire district, its chief, its employees, and its volunteers. Mr. Newby is a disgrace to the fire service and a detriment to this fire district. So again, I demand the immediate resignation of him from this board. And again, I implore the rest of this board to update your policies to include internal recourse for this type of disgraceful disgraceful disrespect and defiance. How long are you willing to allow this to go on? As a taxpayer in your district and a spouse to one of your firefighters, I hope not much longer. I would also hope for all of these issues to be addressed in the immediate future. Thank you.
Hear, hear. Running over.
But every person wants you to.
Our next,
You should. Every
next,
single person here wants you to.
excuse me,
Well,
order.
Yeah, okay, you're despicable. All of you.
I'm afraid there's only one person here who's raising his voice, sir.
Oh,
They are
Well, continue,
You're liars.
Continue with what you're
Director
saying.
Noe, please
Continue.
be seated.
In the
Just
meetings,
don't raise
please.
your voice.
What people, everybody's saying.
Yeah.
No, continue, Chuck. You stop with their despicable.
Everyone,
and the-
I ask again, I ask all of us,
Despicable.
that we continue. I have one last speaker.
I would like to say publicly, you do not have permission to share my image, whatever you took.
Nor mine.
Oh,
Never mind, not mine.
this is a public forum.
Again, if there's any more
This is
outbursts, we
public
will call the
forum.
meeting.
I don't need your permission.
Yes, are you okay if I call the meeting? Or do you need to speak?
I don't absolutely need to speak if you want to call a meeting.
Well, if we can't behave ourselves, I'm going to call the meeting.
He can't behave.
Call it.
All right, go ahead. Mr. Cox, you have an opportunity. 3 minutes.
All right.
Let's be adults.
Let's all try here if we can. So, where to start?
There's the truth, no opinions.
Yeah, so, I mean, in my world, there are facts and there are opinions. Facts are immutable. There's no such thing as an alternative fact. It's either a fact or it's not a fact. You can have opinions, we all do. They can be based on a coin flip, they can be based on an emotion, they can be based on fact. I prefer, around things that we're discussing here, for opinions, at least mine, to be based on fact. Then there's a third entity here, which I call claims. These are, in fact, opinions masquerading as facts. They're not fact, they're opinion. This and this and this is a collection of claims, very expensively produced. The basis, in fact, is virtually nil. It is my intent in the next few days to expose that fact. And I would be happy to debate any and all of this with you, Chuck, or have somebody else debate this with you, or have somebody else from your organization debate this with somebody here. But much as there is zero fact-checking in the pros and cons in this particular thing, there is zippity-doo-dah here. I, honest to God, feel that I've either fallen through the looking glass and with Alice, or I'm back in 1984 with George Orwell. I will not deal with doublespeak. Black is not white, red is not green, blue is not yellow. And you do not own the United States flag.
Yeah,
We all do.
We all do.
Correct.
That's right.
I beg your pardon.
No.
So, I am very concerned about the transparency and honesty that happens in any election, but this one in particular is at a level that is absolutely incredible. I have never seen more fanciful works of fiction. This is pretzel logic at its most extreme. And those of you who were around in February 20th of 1974, that's about none of you. There was an album by Steely Dan of that same name called Pretzel Logic. Some of you remember that. They had a tune, the title tune called Pretzel Logic. And the key line to remember for that is, these days are gone forever. They're gone forever. We should be truthful and honest in our dealings. Always. If we can't do that, we can't rely on one another. And I'm going to make a prediction. Charles de Gaulle made it before the Germans invaded. And he was right. He was viewed as a Cassandra. He said, don't spend all this money building bunkers. Get heavy equipment. I'll be there in a second.
Yeah, your time is up.
I'm not a Cassandra. if we do not make a change to what we got here.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
If we do not make a change to the way we're working,
9/11.
people are going to be leaving for the doors. What you are counting on as a continuation of the
Thank
current
you all very much.
coverage
Greatly
will
appreciate
be
you being here.
gone.